but it never goes anywhere. When we see a non-fiscal session like the one we just had, or the one we're wrapping up right now, legislators are already limited in the number of bills they can present. Should they be limited even further? Hop on YouTube. Let's talk about this as the morning wears on. Actually, as the morning wears on, we're going to get into a Moral Dilemma Mondays. Oh, Alondra, you haven't done a Moral Dilemma Monday yet, have you?
No, I have not done
Oh,
one yet.
yeah, because like last Monday was Memorial Day, so we didn't get a
Right.
chance to. All right, we'll start mulling this one because it's 6:52. We will be doing Moral Dilemma Monday. The question being posed this morning, have you blocked a family member on Facebook because of their politics? Oh, yeah. It's going to get juicy, y'all. I have. It's not pretty.
Have?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
man.
have. And interestingly enough, I have on both sides of the aisle.
I could see that.
It's not about agreeing with a take. It's just about being
Annoyed.
exhausting.
Yes.
It's exhausting.
I can't say I have,
All right.
but I'm going to think about it.
All right. Well, want your feedback on our YouTube page. Mornings with Brian Haldane on YouTube. Dive in. Go ahead, subscribe. Hit the little bell. Subscribe while you're there if you like what you're watching. Plus, when you subscribe, you get the alerts when we go live. We go live every single day, and when you get the alert, you can know what we're talking about before we're talking about it. So we're going to take our first break of the morning. I want to make sure we have plenty of room to cover sports, as LSU baseball could have bought themselves a day of rest, but did not. We will break that down next on Talk 107.3. Can you make sure I didn't delete anything? I'm going to go grab my laptop real quick. All right. Okay. All right. Let me go grab my laptop.
Sorry, YouTube. Y'all should have sound now. I can't say that I've blocked a family member on anything for their politics because I don't care enough to about anything. It's Monday, y'all. We already have people on YouTube saying that they have blocked their family members
Good.
on Facebook. But like I said, I don't think I have just because like there's nothing that I really care hard enough about
Yeah.
to be like, okay, I'm going to block you.
Okay, but that's interesting because, like, doesn't that make it that much more exhausting?
Yeah.
Like, how are you this impassioned about this?
Right. Yeah. No, that's true, but I don't care enough. I also don't look at my news feed to see what like people are saying about like current events because I know that people like most people have stupid takes. So
Yes.
I'm like, meh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a great example. There was a Facebook memory from yesterday. Yesterday was 2 years ago yesterday, my wife posted a picture from Terra Pool. We're members of Terra Pool. And somewhere in the post, she said something like, it was like our first time back out of the house since lockdown. We went to the pool. The kids got to swim, threw some meat on the grill. And Christy had said, all is right with the world. Well, one of her high school friends was like, how can you say that when people are dying? I'm like, shut up. Right. Right. Because just for a minute, I decided to exhale. Just for a minute, I decided to enjoy my life. So screw me, man. I don't know. You want people to die? Is that what you're saying? You want people to die? ESPN again. Dun, dun, dun. Where's the college baseball stuff? I need the box score. Scores.
So do we think that I should take the baseball game today since they had 2 comebacks when I was producing?
Yeah, and
then
Taylor is just a big loser.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. He came in with his bad energy, and now we had a loss. So I think I'm gonna have to take the game today.
I think so.
I think so. They had 2 comebacks with me.
Well, I had to stop getting softball games because they did nothing but lose with me on the board. I mean, you got to look.
You
Sometimes
have to take one for the team.
I know.
I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna have to. There you go.
616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. LSU baseball had the opportunity to take it to the house. Actually, almost literally take it to the house, just depending on what happens in Coral Gables, Florida. Had the opportunity to put Southern Miss away. Actually jumped out to an early lead yesterday. Landra, if you got the highlight ready. Jumped out to an early lead yesterday with this Cade Doty home run in the first.
Doty, his picture on the video board. Bye-bye baseball. Another 2-run homer for Cade Doty here in Hattiesburg, and the Tigers jump up first. 2-0 LSU.
Out to an early lead. Looked like the bats were going to pick up where they left off. You know, you have a hot 8th inning on Friday, a hot 9th inning on Saturday, and then before you know it, that was it. Final score 8-4. Southern Miss grabs it. Must win for LSU today if they want to continue on. If the baseball season will continue on, they will take on Southern Miss again today. Now, Alondra, okay, so for those that don't know, basically everybody who's on this floor today also works over for LSU, right? I'll do some production, you do some production, Taylor does some production.
Yes.
You were on the board for the comebacks.
Yes, I was there on Friday and Saturday. It was
What
very
happened
intense.
Yesterday? What happened yesterday?
What happened yesterday was that I was not on the board. Somebody by the name of Taylor Sharp was on the board.
See, this is the problem.
And Taylor has this negative energy that he brings to the studio.
Yep.
When it comes to baseball.
Yep.
So I'm blaming it on him.
Totally a lack of pitching, giving up 3 runs in the 6th. These things, they're all Taylor's fault.
They are.
So, do you have today's game?
Yes, I will have today. I've decided that I'm taking the game today.
Good.
Starts at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Pregame 2:30.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Done. Alondra will be on the board. Alondra will deliver victory.
Yes.
Or she'll have some explaining to do tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Golden State Warriors evened out the NBA Finals at 1 game apiece. Big third quarter by Steph Curry. Steve Kerr, head coach of the Golden State Warriors, commented on that after the game.
Yeah, I mean, Steph was breathtaking in that quarter. Not just the shot making, but the defensive effort. He just doesn't get enough credit for his level of conditioning and physicality and defense. People go at him to try to wear him down because they know how important he is to us offensively. And pretty dramatic, the difference in Steph's strength and physicality in his body now than from 8 years ago when I first got here. So the guy's amazing. He just keeps working on his game, his strength, his conditioning year after year, and it's a pleasure to watch him play every night.
So the series will move to Boston. I believe they'll pick things up Wednesday night. 107-88, your final score last night. Curry had 29 on the night. He went, 5 of 12 from three-point range. Sweet, that over a 4.5 from behind the three-point line paid off at DraftKings. Nicely done. Curry had 29 last night. 107-88 was the final score. They will head to Boston with an even series, and they get a lot of rest, man. Next game is Wednesday night. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to check the Fox Business Report. When we come back from that Fox Business Report, are we just completely dialed out on violent crime in Baton Rouge? Evidence suggests we are. We'll talk about it next. Where are we at, yo? 6:30. There's a 2-minute. I like doing this. I need to do this before the show, but I like being. Oh. Good morning, Christy. Welcome in, boo. Sorry, Rocco texted as well. Have you met him yet? Okay. All right. I don't think so. I don't think they are. And like, what happens if, you... Hey, Tim, you'll call me Mr. Richardson, damn it! Lax bullshit. Yeah, Rocco says, I don't have any family members left to block. Friggin' Italians. You're in for a treat, by the way, when he comes in for Foodie Friday. Oh, no. It's a glorious thing. We talk, like, the first time he did it, this was 2 summers ago. He stands here and makes a roast beef po' boy and tells stories. First time out, it took over 45 minutes, and we're not even talking about cooking the beef. We're just talking about putting it on the damn bread. 45 minutes telling stories about everything from loan sharks to prostate exams. The the prostate exam story might be my favorite because we have the same doctor. Oh yeah. I can't retell this enough because he's like, no, I got to get a new doctor before I go for a prostate exam. Because his doctor. But our doctor played offensive line for LSU back in the 80s. So, you seen the pause on that guy? That's Rocco's. I think so. What the hell? Where's all this audio coming from? Why is this? All right, we should not have any more problems with. We should not have any. Oh, look at that! Stupid ESPN. All right. All right, what's happening, y'all? What's going on YouTube? What level of Facebook posting exhausts you, Brian? Once per week, a month? I don't know if it's the frequency as much as it's the 100% assuredness that you're right and everybody else is wrong. But probably daily. We'll talk about it at 6:52. 625, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got CBS News coming your way in just a little bit. Our own local news, traffic, and weather as well. You heard that forecast from Marissa Nuzzo at the top of the hour. It's going to be a nasty week, y'all. This is one of those summertime weeks where it just feels like a Louisiana summer. Temperatures are overall going to be in the low to mid 90s. So 92 is your high today and tomorrow. It's going to feel like a lot more than that with the humidity. As I'm trying to pull the humidity up right now, in fact. We're starting off the morning at 88% humidity. So it's high of 92 today and tomorrow, high of 95 on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It does look like that might taper off as we head into the weekend, but you can't predict that this far out, so gross. Wanted to put it off for as long as possible, but it looks like it's here. Marissa will have your forecast after we check news and traffic at the bottom of the hour coming up in a few minutes from right now. So, saw this story at WBRZ, and I wanted your take on it. Hop on our YouTube page and sound off if you would. The headline reads, "Low turnout for panel aimed at reducing gun violence across the Baton Rouge area." And the still photograph was very, very telling within the news story. There's a photograph of, I don't know, more than a dozen empty chairs and less than a half dozen full chairs. I'm sure that wasn't the full room, but what glimpse we got from Earl Phelps at WBRZ's perspective showed a heck of a lot of nothing going on. Community members, law enforcement officers, and government leaders gathered at the Solutions Forum to reduce gun violence Saturday at the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. Quote, "We can be a part of the solution if we go hand in hand," Shiloh Pastor Fred Smith said. He's a member of Prophetic Voices, a coalition of concerned clergy who organized the forum. "We feel an obligation to begin a dialogue. The discussions to bring about remedies to gun violence," Reverend Smith said. With gun violence on the rise in East Baton Rouge Parish, let me stop right there. That's WBRZ's words. Those are Earl Phelps' words, not mine. Gun violence is not on the rise. Gun violence has risen and stays risen. We had a record number of homicides last year. The overwhelming majority of them with a gun, but it was a record number of homicides. With gun violence on the rise in East Baton Rouge Parish, people like Ralph McAllister, but I don't know if that's the business report for Ralph McAllister because it's not spelled the same way. Might just be a misspelling. People like Ralph McAllister, a concerned resident and retired grandfather, came to hear what the panelists had to say. Quote, "I think the number one concern on people's minds is crime, and we have to do more. We have to come up with a total solution," McAllister said. Continuing the story, resident Beverly Conish, also concerned about her city, came out Saturday because she wants to do her part. "We have to start somewhere and make the public know. Everyone needs to do their part to make this better. It takes a village," Conish said. Organizers said folks need to take the information given at the forum and hit the streets to reduce the violent plague that's affecting the city. All right, my question is, why an empty room? Or why a primarily empty room? Why so much apathy? Why were there so many empty seats at the Shiloh Baptist Church? Which, by the way, is Shiloh Baptist Church is on Eddie Robinson Senior Drive. Not too far from North Boulevard, just off of I-110. Why so much apathy? Why are people not showing up for something like this? I asked the question on Twitter yesterday, and I don't think it's apathy. I think we're past the point of having these public forums. A little pep rally to knock out the foolishness. I think we're past the point of getting together to ask for questions and solutions. I think we know the solutions. We have the chief of police on every month. He talks about the solutions as well. A lot of people don't agree with his solutions, but nonetheless, they are solutions. It's not about having these little public forums anymore. We're past that. We're done with that. At this point, having a public forum to act like you care is a dog and pony show. Where are the people showing up to turn in the people who know what's going on? They're not showing up to these forums. Where are the people who actually can make a difference and say, yeah, I know X, Y, and Z. He was at such and such place. last weekend, saw him with a gun there. We're going to have 2 stories in our top stories in trending about shootings over the weekend, and they are related. One was a homicide. The other was a shooting that did not result in a homicide, but was less than an hour later and in connection to. The chief has come on every month to say basically today's victim is tomorrow's perp, and today's perp is tomorrow's victim. Are we done with these little, hands across America type of things? Now, I get it. You still have to have community involvement. But that community involvement has to, it's got to go beyond this, let's get behind a podium. It's not about what's going on in these meetings. It's about what's actually going on in the streets. How do we turn that corner? That doesn't happen at a meeting. That's just got to happen in real life, in real time. Quick break for news. When we come back, let's talk about the legislative session next. Shiloh and Mount Zion. You got to tell us which one. What? It said the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. KC says I've blocked several family members. Byron says Dr. Vinny Boom Bots is still practicing. That's funny. And Rocco would get that joke too. Dr. Vinny Boom Bots was Rodney Dangerfield's doctor. Like, fictitious, obviously. You know my doctor, Dr. Vinny Boom Bots. He said he did say breathtaking. And if you saw the third quarter, he wasn't wrong. All right. Making sure news is not on YouTube before they start asking. Okay. Are we back on this again? I got to go take a stupid COVID test today. Yeah. Because I'm going to the set of National Treasure tomorrow.
Oh.
And, I got to wear a mask the whole time. I might bail on this. I don't feel like doing this. I'm completely asymptomatic. I feel fine.
I haven't been near anybody that has,
yeah, I know.
had COVID.
I know.
Well,
But, I don't know. Is it worth it to me to get some pics and video of the set in order to? But I'm about to launch some other stuff that I need to be over there and talk to some people.
But
there's something brewing for next year.
I
know.
To have to go get tested.
I know. And if I find out I'm positive, then.
I mean, I don't think you will be, but.
No, neither do I. I don't know. We have some at-home tests. I might swing by the house and do a. But I don't know if I have to mail those off or if they're rapid, I can find out on the spot.
No, you find out on the spot.
Like the ones that the government sent to us? Okay.
You do the swab.
Yeah.
It's very easy. I've done it.
Okay.
If I could do it.
Then I think I might do that.
It's you just put it on a swab, and they give you a dropper, and you put the dropper on the thing, and then if it's 2 lines,
you're pregnant.
You're pregnant.
Yeah.
If it's 1, you're not. That's pretty much how it feels. It kind of feels like a pregnancy
If the rabbit
test.
dies.
Yeah.
Eric says, get one of those faulty tests that we're watching Brian from home. I know, just like November 2020 all over again. Although I actually was positive that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, look, a deadly shooting on Winnebago Street. No suspect or motive. And then an hour later, a non-lethal shooting. Oh, man shot and injured on Geronimo Street. Was it the actual Geronimo? No, just a street named after him. I do have my free test from the government. That's the one I think I'm going to take before I go take the test I got to take to get on the set of National Treasure. Just this, I know the interview that I'm going to do is going to be garbage. Like not, well, I don't even know who it's with. I'm going to miss out on the part where we're going to talk, where they can talk to the executive producers. So I'm going to talk with the actors instead, and younger act like this is going to sound so old and curmudgeonly, but like talking to a younger actor who does not have that kind of media savvy yet.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah. It's
I don't
awkward.
right. I'm not good in that format to.
Yeah.
I'm not TMZ.
Well, I'm a youngin'. Send me to do it.
Yeah, you want to go over that? No, well, but the thing is, I
Give
have
me
to.
the questions.
What's the more important part of this whole thing is what's going to happen behind the scenes.
Yeah.
For content that I'm
Rouge,
building
yeah.
up for next year. Yeah.
Hey, Ken.
My guy. Oh, we've got some of Ramsey's team coming on this week.
Oh, really?
Yes. Crap, I got it written down upstairs. Talk about student loan debt.
I need that.
Huh?
Okay, great. I'll be listening.
Yeah. I still have student loans at 45 years old.
I will forever have student loans.
Yeah. Oh, they're going to ridicule me on that. Free money, damn right.
What I got, you got to give it to your mama. What I got, you got to give it to your papa. What I got, you got to give it to your doctor. You do a little dancing and you drink a little water. What I got, you gotta get it, put it in you. What I got, you gotta get it, put it in you. What I got, you gotta get it, put it in you. Feeling with the feeling, don't stop.
638, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So today is the last day of the 2022 regular legislative session. A lot went down this session. We're going to break down a little bit of it. You heard some of it in our news here at the bottom of the hour from Louisiana Radio Network as they were talking with Barry Irwin from the Council for a Better Louisiana. We're going to pick up within that conversation. So it's looking like we're going to have eight constitutional amendments on our fall ballots to go along with midterm elections. Why not 8 constitutional amendments? I wasn't intending on making this segment about the need for a constitutional convention, about the need for hitting the refresh button on our state's constitution. We had other things to talk about here. But my heavens, 8 constitutional amendments this fall? Are you kidding me? I'll pick that back up in a minute. Let me continue with the story. As of this morning, there are other proposed constitutional amendments at play within the legislature, which could win final passage today. Baton Rouge pollster and political analyst John Couvion spoke with our friends over at Louisiana Radio Network. He says a lot of the amendments for voters who will already be facing choices for U.S. Senate, Congress, and a number of local elections as well.
And so that is the ballot clutter that I've been talking about when you're talking about putting all these amendments at the same time as you have a regular general election.
It's a problem because people go into shutdown mode. They don't want to read through the legalese, and we never have these things written in a way that's just thumbs up means this, thumbs down means this. Although the Public Affairs Research Council does a pretty good job of explaining it, but how large is their voice? How large is any one outlet's voice in order to get it all the way down to the polling places? We know the ones that'll be on the November ballot include setting limits on tax rate increases, allowing the state to invest more in equities, allowing government workers to campaign for relatives when not on duty, a few more that are going to be in there. Couvillon says it makes for a very long ballot, and in elections, the shorter the ballot, the better.
And numerically, each time you go a step further down on the ballot, you lose voters, meaning by the time that you've gotten to the constitutional amendments way at the bottom of the ballot, you're talking about a 10 to 20% decrease in turnout.
Not to mention the fact that at the top of the ballot, you don't have an executive. It's a midterm. You're going to have Congress and the Senate, both of which should get decent turnout. But you're not going to have the president or the governor, which are the races that garner the most turnout. Missing out on an executive is going to turn down turnout. And yeah, 8+ constitutional amendments. Are you kidding me? By the way, one of them is going to be an act to remove any and all language allowing involuntary servitude as a criminal punishment from state statutes. Couvillon says most would assume that had been done decades ago.
This amendment is basically making those technical changes to make sure that there is, in fact, no slavery in Louisiana.
I mean, that's the terminology we're using now? So, and John's not wrong. We need to get him on. Once the session's over with and we know exactly what's going to be on the ballot, we'll get John on. He is our favorite numbers nerd. Love having him on. Nobody breaks it down like Couvillon. But when you look at a ballot that's going to be page after page after page of legalese, what's your inclination? Traditionally, it's been just shut down and vote no. If I don't understand that, I'm voting no. And the sad part is voting no can keep our taxes high. The sad part is a lot of these things are written in ways that a no vote actually keeps things jacked up the way they're already jacked up instead of allowing the legislature who's doing work to smooth things out. They don't get smoothed out because that's what we do. We shut down. Rather than taking our time to do our homework and fully understand what's on the ballot, and I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else. If there's 8 to 10 constitutional amendments on the ballot, I'll probably study up on 3 or 4 of them really good just to know where I want to be. And then, of course, I'll come across 1 or 2 that I just don't know. And if you just don't know, what are you going to do? Vote yes? No, you're not. And we all do it. By the way, it's time, y'all. It's time to sound the alarm and start in on the Constitutional Convention soapbox. Another 8 this year, just from this non-fiscal legislative session. 8+ before it's all said and done. We need to get Daniel Erspamer from the Pelican Institute back on about this. He's a good resource for this. Our Constitution, which is what, I guess getting on 50 years old, right? I believe it was 1972 or 73 where it passed, the most recent iteration of our state's Constitution. And it's been amended so many times you can't even count anymore. To the point where it's all just one piece of, like, one unwound roll of duct tape at this point. Can we not start back over again? Go back down to the basics? What do we need to run our state? And then just completely hit the refresh. I mean, just a complete Control-Alt-Delete on the state constitution. A full reboot. It would take a ton of work. But at this point, where we have to amend the Constitution a dozen times, or 8+ times, every single year, I don't know how we can't just start over again. It feels like that would be the right call. Hey, speaking of the Pelican Institute and Daniel Erspamer, which we'll get him on, we'll get him back on real soon once the session's over with for a full post-mortem, if you will. Their Pelican Institute had a number of things that they were looking at for this legislative session. Of course, infrastructure dollars, We're number one on everybody's list. But two quick notes of items that passed this session that the Pelican Institute was looking at and we talked about regularly leading up to and within the session. The first of which, the Senate passed occupational licensing reform for justice-involved citizens. CEO of the Pelican Institute, Daniel Ersbeimer, released the following statement after Louisiana legislature passed HB 639. Louisianans who are exiting the justice system often face countless barriers as they try to get their lives back together. We applaud the Senate for passing HB 639, which would allow justice-involved citizens to get a pre-qualification check from a licensing board before going into education and training-related debt in pursuit of an occupational license. This bill would help lower recidivism rates while protecting public safety by giving people who are reentering society a fair chance at pursuing their chosen career. This is one of the bills that did not garner a lot of attention this session, but it's one of those bills that was like super duper important under the radar. We live in the most incarcerated state and the most incarcerated nation on the planet. And this is one of those ones that it's just this little bitty thing, that would get people back to work instead of back down the wrong path that sent them to jail in the first place. Also, from the Pelican Institute, they were celebrating another bill, HB 1062, the Right to Earn a Living Act, that I'm looking up the clock. We're not going to have enough time to break down right now. What we will have enough time to break down is today is what? Today is June 6th. You've got 3 more days to get over to talk1073.com and post pictures of your dad doing dad things. And as I understand it, haven't had a whole lot of people get in on this yet. The Rad Dad Contest is going on right now at talk1073.com. Mallard Bay putting together a great prize pack. Get in on it now. Quick break for your money now. Oh, one quick note from last week. When posting the individual interviews, lose the bumper, lose the timestamp, lose all that other stuff right to time to welcome to the show. I know when I reset within the interview, I might hit a timestamp or whatever, but for the purposes of once the segment's over with, it doesn't matter what time it is. And the tease at the end of it needs to go away as well. So when you're head and tailing those, start with the introduction and end with the thank you for joining me. So, good job on the labeling. Much better than Chuck's lazy ass. No, we need it that way for the tracking. Well, the shit that Jake was doing with his like secret code. B or what? Who is that? How is that Garrett Graves? I don't know what that means. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have my Dakota ring. Who is this? Stupid. I don't think there was language in it allowing slavery. This is prison labor, and I'm pretty sure it's prison labor. Did I see the article on SB 189 yesterday? Or if you're talking about the article by Sam Carlin about Bodie's tactics, yes, I did, and I had that for the back end of that segment, and I got caught by the clock. Byron says, does Dad have to be alive to win? Well, I mean, I don't want to be insensitive about this, but unless you plan on weekend at Bernie's this fishing trip, it would kind of help.
It would definitely be useful.
Yeah, I mean,
For the dad
you
to
could
be
weekend
alive.
at Bernie's the fishing trip, but
You could, but I don't think that would be fun for anybody.
Yeah. So my my dad passed 10 years ago this year. I only ask on account I have a pic of my dad from 1973 giving a 4-year-old me a sip of Budweiser.
That's a nice.
You know
thing.
what? Post the pic anyway.
Wait,
That's
can I-
awesome.
Put my grandpa. I have a picture of my grandpa giving me some beer when I was a baby.
Post it up. You're not eligible to win because you work here, but post it up anyway.
My grandpa's. I'm a little baby and I'm sitting on his lap and he's giving me some Miller Lite.
I like it.
Me too.
I like it.
We recreated.
How many
it a
how
couple
many
years
of us
ago.
got our first beer in the Superdome? See, I think that answer will be different in Baton Rouge than because I think for a lot of folks up here it would be like in the
in Tiger Stadium?
well not in the stadium but in a parking lot.
Trailer. Tailgate.
Tailgate?
In the trailer park.
Maybe,
I mean, I'm not that far.
you want to
off.
go all Livingston Parish on it, sure.
Don't let Taylor hear you.
Yeah?
He gets very defensive.
Yeah, he does. Galen says, so the amendment would outlaw what was called hard time. Perhaps we need prisoners to work. Yeah, I agree completely. But at the same time, though, to whose benefit? The problem is when that's privatized and we as taxpayers don't reap the reward. .652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We need to get into our moral dilemma Monday, as I want to talk about blocking your relatives on Facebook. But while we're talking about relatives, I got to address what went on. So we did the Rad Dad. We're doing the Rad Dad contest, right? How rad is your dad? Where now through June 9th, upload a picture of your dad doing dad things to our website, to talk1073.com, for a chance to win your dad a full-day guided offshore fishing trip for up to 6 people out of Grand Isle with Double J Charters, a 20-quart Gator cooler, all courtesy of Mallard Bay. Plus, and I didn't forget this, but I ran out of time, a huge Father's Day gift basket of meats from Bedar Supermarkets, a prize valued at nearly $3,000. What? That just covers the gas for the boat. Sorry. Then June 10th through the 15th, you can vote for your favorite Rad Dad over at talk1073.com. June 16th, we will crown the raddest dad our winner. It's a happy Father's Day from Mallard Bay, Bedar Supermarkets, and Talk 1073. So we were talking during the break about what are dad things, right? And inevitably, and of course this audience would be all on this, right? Byron says, I have a pic from 1973 of my dad giving a 4-year-old me a sip of Budweiser. Is that allowed? Now, Byron's dad, like my dad, has since passed, so I don't know that he could go on a fishing trip. But absolutely that's a dad thing. So we were asking the question, and not to detract from our Moral Dilemma Monday, but okay, how many of you out there, your first sip of beer was in the Superdome or at an LSU tailgate? And it was way underage. I think statute of limitations have passed, right? Most of us. But how many of you, your first sip of beer was Dome Foam? Or at an LSU tailgate? See, I have a feeling the answer is going to be a little bit different in Baton Rouge than it was growing up on the North Shore. Like, I know if Condon was in here, it would probably be, you know what, I can go ahead and answer for him. A Miller Pony. I still don't know what that is. I think they used to sell them in tiny...
They're
like,
little tiny bottles.
Ain't
and they're
nobody got
super
no
cute.
time for that.
They still sell them in certain places. Like
Okay.
at Billy's in Lafayette,
Okay.
that Boudreaux place.
But who needs a shot of beer?
They're
It's
just
a beer.
cute. They're just cute.
Whatever. Sell me something that's going to get me the job done. You know what? I need more volume of beer, not less. I need high capacity cases of beer. All right, Moral Dilemma Monday. Let's dive in 60 seconds. Got to remind you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. They've got 2 locations, 4065 Florida Boulevard or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2. Mitch Kimball and his team, they want to take care of you. The Memorial Day sale, I want to say he's continuing the pricing this week. I'll know more later on, but I can tell you this, though. The financing that Mitch is offering, that is continuing right now. And if you mention you heard about him right here on Talk 107.3 FM, you will get free delivery and a free pillow. Name brand mattresses for closeout prices. Want to get yourself a queen-size mattress? We're talking $400 off of normal prices. Want to get yourself a king-size mattress? We're talking $500 off of normal prices. And go by there. Visit the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet at 4065 Florida Boulevard or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2 and just try them out. Just lay down on your mattresses or on his mattresses, finding the one that's perfect for you. The full-on Goldilocks treatment. This one's too hard. This one's too soft. This doesn't have cooling gel. This is a pillow top. Find the one that's right for you. Christy and I got ourselves a Sealy Hybrid, a Sealy Beauty Rest Black Label. You can find the one that's just perfect for you at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. All right. More than 3 in 4 millennials have blocked family members on Facebook because of a disagreement over political content, according to a study. I don't know why they're targeting millennials in this study because it's true for all of us. A new survey conducted by the website Time to Play found that 78.3% of millennials have blocked a family member on Facebook for political postings. Quote, the younger generation doesn't seem interested in hearing any opinions that differ from their own, researcher Ben Triner told the Post. So if you don't 100% agree with their agenda, they'll cut you out of their lives completely, and that goes for family too. I want to take issue with the New York Post for this phrasing. The way they're setting this up makes it sound like millennials, which are, by the way, no longer the younger generation. That would be Gen Z now. But making it sound like it's 100% on those who are blocking people rather than those who are being blocked. So I asked the question on YouTube, have you blocked a family member for their political posts? Galen asked a good question, and I got to scroll way back to find it. He says, I haven't blocked a family member, but they may have blocked me, LOL. Galen asked the question, is it the frequency of the post, the stupidity of the post, or something else that drives y'all blocking others? I think it's a combination of all of it. The frequency, absolutely. If you're waking up every single day just ready to be pissed off on Facebook, I don't have time or room for that in my life. And I'm not a millennial. Show me something good that you're doing. Show me something that's going on in your life. I don't need you ranting about how awful Ted Cruz is or how awful Representative Cortez, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, or Nancy Pelosi, or whomever. They're not part of your day-to-day life. Social media should be social. Eric says, never blocked anybody for their politics. I have for other reasons, though. Byron says, if only blocking them in real life was this easy. Renee also hasn't blocked anybody. What about you? Let me know on YouTube. We'll continue this conversation as we head into news at the top of the hour here. Now, while the New York Post has millennials in the crosshairs for this one, nearly half of those surveyed from all age groups have blocked somebody. 46.4% said they blocked a family member who posted hateful, toxic, or problematic things. Slightly less, 43.5% from all age groups, said they blocked a family member for sharing fake news. That's a big one for me. That actually crossed the line for me. I had one particular relative, it was not a close relative, that made it easier, but was continually posting stuff. This was around the time of the Pizzagate stories, and just constant barrage of it. And I'm like, you know what? This is not your life. Post about your life. Post about you doing things. And then just finally just blocked them, and I haven't had a problem since. What about you? Let us know on YouTube. Right now, we got to get the CBS World News Roundup coming your way on Talk 107.3 FM. All right. Yeah, no Condon today. Him and Anna were off because, vacations and whatnot. Eric says my dad passed 9 years ago. My first sip of beer was probably fishing. Oh, fishing's another one. Anna says I have unfollowed lots of people for negativity, misinformation, and hateful political posts. Okay, but Anna, are they relatives? And this is why I wanted to do this topic, because that seems to be a game changer. There's a lot of people that like add me on Facebook, and I'll go to the mutual friends list first, and I'll see who are our mutual friends. Oh, it's Gordy, it's Moscona, it's T-Bob. Like, just get the ads because of where I work, right? I can unfriend those people all day long. I can unfollow those people all day long. But when it's people you break bread with in real life, how are you handling that?
I also don't think that, like, me and my family, like, politically disagree or socially disagree on that much for me to block them, you know?
Yeah. Well,
I think we're all pretty much the same in terms of our politics. I do have a little bit, like a couple of aunts and cousins that are like super far left,
yeah.
but I'm not going to block them for that.
I have one cousin who makes it a point to comment on how stupid religion is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't interact on Facebook
That's
anymore.
messed up.
And I've asked him in person. I'm like, look, you want to be a keyboard warrior? Let's talk about it now. Let's talk about it at the table.
Yeah.
And I get nothing.
Exactly.
Oh, you don't bully me.
Bully?
Not bullying you, Hoss. You're the one that's sounding off all the time, which is why you're no, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it just shows your intolerance. I'm like, nope, it's not my
Show
intolerance.
yours, yeah.
Exactly. So, got one on the atheist side, but I've got more relatives on the QAnon side at this point.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous.
I think that, like, literally most of my family is down the middle. My dad is maybe a little more far right than the rest of us, just because he's, like, ex-Marine.
Yeah. Are you ever an ex-Marine?
He's a Marine. So he is a little crazy.
Do I already have this story and it's just a reiteration of the same story? Yep, that's the number 5 story. All right, number 5 is now number 1, which means I need another one for number 5. What do we got? All right, back to Anna. Oh, wait, no. Deborah says, I block those whose political posts reveal abhorrent views. I'm sure I've been blocked for my moderately liberal ones, especially the last 4 years. Probably, and that's the part. That's the biggest problem with that is, well, there's 2 problems with that. Number 1, why is moderate a bad thing these days?
Right.
Silence is violence. Shut up.
Like, why do I have to be one or the other?
But why do I have to be one or the other on Facebook?
Yeah.
That, to me, that no one has ever won a Facebook argument in the history of ever. But I'm with you, Deborah. Like, why is moderate a bad thing? Oh, I'm willing to listen to reason. Oh, then you're terrible.
Yeah.
Anna says only 2 first cousins, didn't block, just unfollowed. And my first sip of beer was at our lake house. All right. I'm liking the beer topic better than the relatives topic.
Yeah.
Is snoozing them the same as blocking?
Moral Dilemma Monday. Is it okay to give babies beer?
Not babies. Always with the extremes.
To be fair, I was a baby in that picture.
Well, if you can't find formula, thanks, Joe Biden.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? See how I made that political in no time?
That's what everybody does these days.
Rusty says, oh, wait, Eric says, is snoozing them the same as blocking them? I don't think so. It's the precursor.
Yeah.
It's the brushback
Yeah.
pitch. But they don't know about it. You snooze them, and they have no idea. They're still just as batshit crazy. And that's where I ultimately want the conversation. We might have to do this again for another. We're going to have to bring this one back up. Because if you snooze them, like, they have no idea, like, how far out of left field they are.
You got
Or right field. It's a baseball reference. It's not a political reference. But what can we do to help bring people back to a level of conversation?
Right?
With all of our echo chambers. Yeah, I've got a friend who's like so far off to the left that like, but when we talk in person, we have a conversation. Outside of that, he will not engage on social media. I won't hear it.
That.
You're awful and I won't hear it.
Yeah. It's usually like that. You got complete collision here.
Cool. .706 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Love where the conversation has gone on the YouTube stream because of Moral Dilemma Monday, which we're going to have to pick up and do it another time, y'all. This was a juicy one that ended up with two completely different topics, both equally great. Number one, where were you when you had your first sip of beer? I love this topic. We had, who was it? Was it Anna? Her first sip of beer was at their lake house. Okay, I'm guessing sports or water is going to be involved in 90% of our first sips of beer. I mean, this is sportsman's paradise, right? Whether it be outdoors, whether it be hunting and fishing, or whether it be in the Dome or Tiger Stadium or wherever. I'm guessing that's going to garner the vast majority of responses. Anyway, continue, please, with the where was your first sip of beer and who's the culprit. Out your head, Dad. But if you've got picks, please post them up at talk1073.com. You can win the prize pack. We got 3 more days to register. The Moral Dilemma Monday question we were asking, though, is have you ever blocked, unfriended a relative because of their political posts? And Colton, I'm glad Colton posted this. Colton says if it's on Facebook, you can just unfollow them rather than block, and they'll never know. But is that the answer, Colton? Do you want them to ever know? No, and I'm asking, like I said, every Moral Dilemma Monday, there's no wrong answers. There's just conversation. If they never know, then they're never going to be reeled in. If they never know, then they're going to feel justified. They're going to feel that self-righteous indignation. They're going to feel like they're still doing their thing and nobody's standing in their way. And they're furthering themselves down that path of an echo chamber that it seems social media allows us to cultivate. So, yeah, it's easy on our end to, like, Pontius Pilate ourselves away from this. But if they never know, do we want them to know? Oh, I love the conversation. Keep it going. It's on our YouTube channel. And, as always, subscribe while you're there. Every day, the folks over at Complete Collision Center bring you top stories and training. Complete Collision Center has 2 locations. One up on Plank Road in Zachary, which I think this week is going to be the breaking point for me to actually. So Doug and his team at Complete Collision Centers, they got the bigger location on Plank Road in Zachary, smaller footprint on Perkins at Bluebonnet. If you bring your car, if you're in an accident and you go to Perkins at Bluebonnet, they can get you set. Like, they'll get you squared away, back onto the road safely. Certified by more than a dozen major car manufacturers, have the iCar Gold Class certification. Want to know what that means? Visit CompleteCollision.com. But I got run off the road. Gosh, this was over a month ago now. Bottomed my car out, cracked my AC compressor. Doug says, you got to go to our Zachary location for that. I was like, okay, I will. But Zachary's way up in Zachary, right? Well, I think the temperatures this week are going to push me over the edge. I'll be going to see Doug and his team over at Complete Collision Center. I'll be calling 768-9898, 768-9898 to let them know I'm on my way. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. Time for top stories and trending. Let's roll.
Yo, pump it up. It's time for the news. Yo, we getting ready to bring you the news, boy.
What do you hear? What do you say?
Want to tell me what happened?
Now, top stories and trending
5, 4, 3, 2, I let one go.
on Talk 107.3 FM.
The most trusted name in news.
Brought to you by Complete Collision Center, with locations in Zachary and Baton Rouge. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Choose CompleteCollision.com.
I want to know absolutely everything that's happened up to now.
Number 5.
Debbie had the crawfish boil as her first. I forgot the crawfish boil. Can we say that includes water because that's where they were caught? Anyway. Gas prices continue to rise, reaching approximately $4.43 per gallon across the state. Quote, I'm filling up usually every other day, and it's costing me $88 to $90 to fill my tank, says Ryan Millay. The sticker shock at the pump isn't only affecting summer travelers, it's also affecting those in lawn services, like Kenny Levy, who puts more gas in his mowers than in his own truck. The long and the short of the story is rising gas prices are affecting not just travel plans for the summer, but businesses throughout Baton Rouge as well.
Number 4.
Early Saturday, officers stopped a car they say was veering into oncoming traffic and found 5 pounds of weed and a gun in the vehicle. Baton Rouge Police Department said 23-year-old Dalen Arrington was driving the car with more than 8 ounces of marijuana. Yes, 5 pounds would be more than 8 ounces. Hashtag mathing. More than 8 ounces of marijuana in small bags, a large bag with 15 ounces and nearly 70 ounces in vacuum-sealed bags. Officers also said they found a gun and a black digital scale in the car. I don't know why the race of the digital scale matters. Arrington was charged with possession with intent to distribute Schedule I drugs and illegal carrying of weapons with a controlled dangerous substance.
Number 3.
I hate when stupid jokes trip me up. One person was shot and injured One person was shot and injured nearly 5 blocks away from a fatal shooting only an hour beforehand. More on that fatal shooting in a moment. According to the Baton Rouge Police Department, one person was shot in the 3400 block of Geronimo Street around 5:30 Sunday evening. Officers said the injuries appeared non-life-threatening, but... Number 2, please.
Number 2.
One person was shot and killed at a home on Winnebago Street Sunday afternoon. Baton Rouge police officers said 24-year-old Deontay Veal was shot and killed at his home on Winnebago Street shortly before 4:30. No other details about this shooting were made immediately available. However, the RPD is saying the shooting on Geronimo Street was a direct result of the shooting on Winnebago. No, the shooting on Winnebago Street was a direct result of the shoot. Nope, other way around. Geronimo Street, a result of Winnebago. Today's perp is tomorrow's victim.
Number 1.
A man who pleaded guilty to armed robbery charges just months ago was arrested again Saturday after he ran from sheriff's deputies and locked himself inside a hotel room. According to the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office, deputies first responded to the La Quinta Inn on Rieger Road just off Segan Lane over reports of a man armed with a pair of handguns chasing a woman and then pointing a gun at someone. When deputies arrived, 28-year-old Tyrell Jimerson ran and barricaded himself in an unoccupied hotel room at the nearby Motel 6. Deputies spoke with 2 of Jimerson's relatives who arrived at the scene, and the pair tried to coax the suspect out of the hotel room. Jimerson still refused to cooperate, crawled out through a maintenance corridor. He was captured shortly afterwards. Investigators searched the area, found a backpack containing 2 weapons that they believe belonged to Jimerson. They also found Jimerson in possession of a bottle of prescription drugs that did not belong to him. Jimerson had pleaded guilty back in February to 2 counts of armed robbery and a charge of simple burglary related to another incident in December of 2018, according to arrest documents. He was also booked in 2017 related to a pair of armed robberies out in Ascension Parish. Jimerson, who for some reason was already out, was booked on 2 counts of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, illegal possession of a stolen firearm, simple criminal damage to property, distribution of prescription drugs, and 2 counts of resisting an officer and criminal trespassing. Those are your top stories. Here is a look at what's trending this morning. Another mass shooting over the weekend. Actually, a couple of mass shootings over the weekend. We're taking a look at one. Gunfire killed 3 people, wounded at least 11 others in a popular downtown Philadelphia entertainment district late Saturday night. Police officers were patrolling the area on South Street in downtown Philadelphia when they heard multiple gunshots and witnessed several suspects firing into a large crowd just before midnight, Police Inspector D.F. Pace said during a news conference. An officer shot at one of the suspects from about 30 feet away, but it's unclear if the suspect was hit. 2 men and a woman were among those killed, he said. Their names have not been made public by authorities yet. Thomas Jefferson University Hospital spokesperson Damian Wood said of the 10 patients who came into the hospital, 3 were dead, 6 were in stable condition, 1 had already been discharged. 2 handguns were recovered, including one with an extended magazine. Pace said police expect to be able to gather a lot of video surveillance footage from the many businesses across the street later in the day to try and identify suspects. Those are your top stories in trending. We are due for a quick break. When we come back, Medical Mondays next on Talk 107.3. You haven't done a live Medical Monday yet, have you? Have you done a live Medical Monday yet? Okay. So there should be a bumper or an open right there. We come right back in with the open and just, I take it from there. Is that Dr. Boudreaux? Awesome. All right, I'm going to post this on my Facebook, asking people if they block people on Facebook for the ultimate, like, inception. All right, whoop, might be nice to spell relative, right? Moral Dilemma Monday. Shoot, if I post this, then Kastner's going to see it and know that I stole Moral Dilemma Monday from him. I can't remember if I ever asked his permission for that. All right. Yes, it is time for Medical Monday, and yes, it is time to talk a little bit about men's health. Dr. Tyler Boudreaux with the physician groups of men's health over at Our Lady of the Lake joins us now. Dr. Boudreaux, good morning. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Happy to be here. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Glad to have you on this morning. Men's health is seeming to start to garner a little bit of attention. It is still, I would assume, an uphill battle. Why is men's health finally starting to make some headlines?
You know, there's a lot of interest in men's health recently, and there really needs to be. What we've found is that usually women are the primary health care decision makers in the family, and I think men are kind of coming to the forefront, engaging in their own health care, realizing it's important, and striving in that fashion.
You know, so as a 45-year-old man, I can tell you firsthand, yeah, I want to shy away from it and not face everything that I've got coming my way from all angles in the near future. How often should men be going to the doctor for a normal checkup?
You know, it's a great question. Nobody really wants to get sick, and no one wants to come in and, take a break from their busy day at work. But the short answer is, or the easy answer is, once a year. Now, the realistic answer is if you've got something going on, what we see a lot of is high blood pressure, diabetes, maybe some anxiety, depression. Those people need to come in at least every 6 months. And if something is ongoing or you're changing medicines, trying to have a different goal with your medications, then really needs to be at least every 3 months in that situation. Sometimes we have guys with high blood pressure, and we get those people in every 2 weeks until we can get their numbers where we want them to be. So it can be every year or as soon as every 2 weeks.
We've seen a lot of advancements. We've adapted to a lot of advancements through COVID as well. Are there screenings we could do without having to physically break from our busy schedules and actually go see the doctor?
You know, with the advent of the home blood pressure monitoring system, that's a big key there. So that kind of decreases the chance that people have high blood pressure at home and don't know about it. Also, with the advent of smartwatches, people can watch their heart rate being too high or too low. And so simple things like that. But all the while in the community, there's screening mechanisms, different hospital organizations, and then the Louisiana Men's Health Organization provides some screening to men, whether it be a point-of-care blood test or informational lectures. And so those things can definitely be taken advantage of.
Talking a little bit about the blood pressure and a few of the other top health concerns for men, let's take a deeper dive. What do you see most frequently as the top health concerns?
So with the CDC, going back to data in 2020, 1 in 4 men are going to die of cardiac risk factor, whether that be a heart attack, heart failure, a valvular problem. It's going to be 1 in 4 men succumb to something from their heart. After that, we see about 20% of men, unfortunately, pass away from cancer. That's slightly increased compared to women. Men's about 22%, women's about 20%. After that, it's accidental injuries, and the list kind of goes on from there. So really, heart is the number one, and it has been for the past few decades.
Are we seeing trends at least moving in the right direction for guys? I mean, when it comes to heart health?
Over the past 40 years, we've seen life expectancy increase by about 10 years, going from about 69 years of age to 78 years of age for life expectancy over the past 40 years. So overall, we're going in the right direction, and we're trying to mitigate risk as far as cardiovascular health, decreasing the chance of high blood pressure, decreasing the chance of diabetes. So if we can get those two top things taken care of, then we're really going to improve the chance that our heart's going to, live to the maximal time period.
We're talking with Dr. Tyler Boudreaux about men's health on this Medical Monday, presented by the folks over at Our Lady of the Lake. Yeah, it's just as age increase or age expectancy, life expectancy increases, eventually something's going to get you. It's just a matter of moving that number further upward.
Exactly.
You talked a little bit about cancer. What kind of cancers are we on the lookout for?
So overall, across the board, skin cancer is the most common. So if you take that one aside, the most common cancer in men is going to be prostate cancer. We know that about 80% of guys, when they get to age 80, are going to have some form of prostate cancer. So having that on the list of things to watch out for is definitely at the forefront. After that, it's going to be lung and colorectal cancer. Unfortunately, lung cancer has the highest rate of killing people, or highest mortality rate, and then colorectal cancer just after that. So if we can have screening mechanisms in place, if we can have ways to mitigate smoking exposure, then I think we're going to be able to kind of change the dial and be able to decrease that risk.
Let's stick with the prostate topic for just a minute, because along with prostate cancer, there's a number of aspects of prostate health that men should be concerned about, correct?
Correct.
Well, why do I need to be concerned about prostate health outside of just the cancer?
So I kind of have a mental list of things to expect as we get older, and, prostate is one of those things. As we get older, our prostate typically gets a little bit enlarged with BPH, and that increases the rate of how much we have to urinate at night. And so, once again, thing on the list, almost we know it's going to happen. And so if we can, just because we go to the bathroom 5 times at night, doesn't mean that's normal. And so if that happens, I would say we need to have a conversation with the doctor. My line in the sand is usually 2 times a night. And then at that point, we really need to speak with a physician, myself, or another physician in the community included.
And what kind of steps go into that? Obviously we'll start with consultation. What comes after that?
So with medication would be the first thing that we look at. Do we have a problem with overflow incontinence or urge incontinence or stress incontinence? So there are different types of problems that we can encounter with the prostate and the bladder. Really have to delineate which one's which. Usually it's overflow incontinence for guys, and the prostate is too tight. It's not relaxing, and medications are typically used. Flomax, most people have heard of. Propecia can be used for other things such as hair loss, things like that.
You know what? I'm glad you brought up hair loss, because this is something that most guys just see as inevitable and not a big thing. Is hair loss kind of a trigger for other problems?
I don't know that's a trigger for other problems, but once again, it's on my mental list of things to kind of expect. And so those medications do overlap with the prostate and decrease the amount of, the strengthened form of testosterone floating around. So, like I said, Propecia is used. Usually it's the lower dose of 1 milligram per day for hair loss versus 5 milligrams a day for prostate health. And so these are things to kind of watch out for, almost expected, but the risk can be mitigated to some form or fashion.
I guess a better way for me to ask that question is, are things intertwined, where if you see one thing going wrong, or if you see one thing happening, it's emblematic of something else. It might not look like it's connected, but it is.
As far as the hair loss goes, I wouldn't say not necessarily. Almost all guys are going to have some form of BPH whenever they get older. So just knowing that the risk is there, knowing that that conversation needs to be had with your doctor at some point, typically whenever we cross the age of 50. And so just having that on your radar, I would say.
We're talking with Dr. Tyler Boudreaux from Our Lady of the Lake about men's health. Dr. Boudreaux, us guys are hit with a barrage of advertisements about testosterone levels on a regular basis. Should we be taking testosterone supplements as we age?
You know, it's a great question, and one my partner and I field almost every day. So there's a lot of ads, whether it be on TV, radio, newspaper, wherever you get your information, you're going to see an ad about testosterone being touted as the fountain of youth. And yes, there are a lot of benefits to it, but there are some risks, very small, but just you need to know about it. And so how my conversation goes is that there's two ways to diagnose testosterone deficiency, both objective and subjective, and that kind of plays into our conversation with the patient. So objectively, we look at blood levels. They should be drawn in the morning between 8 and 10 a.m. And then on the subjective component, we talk with men about erectile dysfunction. Sometimes that conversation goes towards libido or energy levels or fatigue. That goes into the subjective component of it. But really, we like to marry the number side of things and the symptom side of things before we diagnose someone with testosterone deficiency. In that situation, we do elect, and usually do elect, to start those patients on replacement therapy. Typically, that is a lifelong decision, so this should not be made willy-nilly. We should have a conversation with the patient, and then after that, we can monitor levels. We don't want people getting super high or completely super therapeutic, and so we want to make sure those levels kind of stay in the normal range or a expectedly normal range.
How much of this is a matter of our own health versus our lifestyles? Because, I mean, I'm a guy who always feels run down, but I have 3 jobs, 3 kids, and I hit the gym 4 times a week. So, how much of that is just an acceptance of our own limitations?
Right. I keep going back to the same trend of things on the list to expect as we age. So we know that about 20% of guys at the age of 60 will have testosterone deficiency, 30% at 70, and about 50% at 80. So once again, later in life, it's almost expected, but everybody lives stressful lives now, so fatigue is kind of something that we see running rampant, especially in the post-COVID era. And so once again, just have a conversation with your physician. That way you can talk about it.
Continuing on that for one more before we move on to something else, and Dr. Tyler Boudreaux from Our Lady of the Lakes, our guest, we're talking men's health. Dr. Boudreaux, with the over-the-counter, the Nugenics and the ageless male and all those that they have available, is there a recommendation for just walking into a drugstore and grabbing something off the shelf, or would you always recommend going? Are those products different than what you would prescribe?
Great question. So, I did a lecture about this a few weeks ago, and so I looked at the data. With all these supplements, most of them are not regulated by the FDA. A lot of them have not gone through extensive clinical trials, and so overall, some of these supplements really increase libido, but they do not improve erectile dysfunction, and they certainly don't improve testosterone levels in the blood. Maybe 5 to 10 points, but certainly not 1 to 200 points that we would expect with true medications or injections. And so going back to your previous question of what can we do at home, there's a lot of questions about, does increased soy products in our diet lead to testosterone deficiency? There's been no data to prove that that is true. There's no data to prove that other foods will lead to testosterone deficiency. I think that it's an expected thing as we go along, and there's really not much you can do to mitigate the risk or worsen your risk of deficiency.
Want me to hit you with one really out of left field? How much of it's psychosomatic?
I mentioned the objective number component side of things, but really, guys, think about the subjective side of things, so symptoms. And so once guys get in a downward spiral of thinking about testosterone and erectile dysfunction, a lot of it is psychiatric and it sticks with you. And so I think a large portion, I would say the majority, to answer your question.
And that opens up a whole other world we're not going to have time for, just because when it gets into that, when men come to their physical health, we're in denial enough, but when it comes to our mental health, it's even worse.
Yeah, and we've actually spoken about that in November about mental health, and that is a long conversation. And men struggle with depression at a rate of about 9%, and unfortunately, guys are at risk of suicidality, and unfortunately, that rate is higher than we see in women, as far as like full-blown attempts of it. So that needs to be on the radar. We do depression screenings at most of our visits. It needs to be on the forefront to a lesser and a greater extent.
Well, it's all the more reason to have you back on in the very near future. He is Dr. Tyler Boudreaux. Great stuff, as always. Physician with the OLL Men's Group, or Men's Health, excuse me. Dr. Boudreaux, thank you so much for the time this morning.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good one.
You too. I could dive into that for days. The mental health aspect of it. And we didn't even get into life expectancy. It'll be available on demand at talk1073.com as soon as the show is over with. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about the legislative session with Stephen Wagaspak next. Jason says, yes, I have had to block some family and a friend or two on Facebook. Content and frequency, too much from them. Totally. So, follow-up question, and y'all know I like to get introspective because I always like to blame myself for everything. If you're blocking family and friends because of their outlandish Facebook demeanor, are you not developing your own echo chamber at this point? Where's that line? Ooh. The baby formula shortage is still a thing? I thought they solved that last week. Ooh, Rafael Nadal won his 14th French Open title. Yeah. I know it's pronounced Nadal. All right. Odds are I'm going to be wearing that Rougarou head before the day is over with. The head. The mascot head. It will be at 8:40. Ronnie Rance going to be on with us. Byron says, I like to think that drinking fruity flavored beers leads to testosterone deficiency. Why not? Right? Byron says, this topic reminds me of the old Medical Monday music that included the statement, my wife made me come. It was so cheery. Yeah, well, phrasing, first of all. Oh, that burrito levee got destroyed during Ida. The burrito levee. See, you're right. You're right, Byron. That is right. Didn't you say no one wins a Facebook argument? I did, because nobody wins a Facebook argument. They won't see any posts from me to the contrary of what they post, so it won't matter if I block them. Yeah. I don't know. Does the downward spiral not bother anybody? Like those baby steps towards a cross-section of Wall-E versus Idiocracy. Meanwhile, we're all waiting for Dr. Cocteau to fix it. Yeah, I brought Demolition Man to the topic, to the table. Nope. It's flashing. There you go. This content, this copy for Drop Biscuit, I don't know if I can read this on the air. From a dirt poor boy raised amid the hustlers, pimps, and whores of turn of the century New Orleans. Is that real? It's real. From a dirt poor well, it's written for Eagle 98.1. From a dirt poor boy raised amid the hustlers, pimps, and whores of turn of the century New Orleans, Louis Armstrong became one of the most recognizable people on earth. He traveled the world, conquered music, radio, film, and whores. No, it doesn't. I just want to throw the word whores in there about 30 more times. He overcame prejudice, spread joy and whores, and convinced us all that this really can be a wonderful world. Is the Condits podcast? Casey, repeat that for me, please. I don't know if that's right. Hoisted by my own logic. No. So yeah, right? Okay. Yes, it is, and that's the whole. Sometimes you just have to walk down the path. I just ask the questions. We can all, reach conclusions together. Isn't that the whole point? We have discussion and not just bloviating. I blocked a couple of ultra-libs when they verbally attacked a high school student. That's like a low-calorie liberal. It's it's not a full hearty Michelob. It's the ultra-lib. So, right, yeah. Is that Condit's podcast advertisement? Oh, it's Drop Biscuit Studios. That's what that is. I think when you say Condon, are you meaning Condon? Richard? Oh, wait, look, yeah, you can't spell his name based off of how he says his name. You're lost forever. Seven 738 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Today is the last day of the 2022 regular legislative session. Joining us now to break it down is the president of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, Stephen Wagaspack. Stephen, good morning. How are you, man?
Man, it couldn't be better. Beautiful day outside, and despite the heat, we know that we're, T-minus about 7-8 hours from last day of school being done and the kids going home for the summer. So everyone's fired up in Long Beach land today.
So, parties going on?
Well, it's weird. Usually Sunny Die parties back in the day used to be the thing to do. And over the last couple of years, since they've been in so many sessions and it's been so many, days down at the Capitol, usually people kind of like get in their truck and go home on Sunny Die. So last night there was a little shindig, near the varsity where it's kind of like the pre-Sunny Die party, and that's where all the cool kids went. The truth is, I'm getting older now, Brian, and so I came home, I had dinner with the family, and then my youngest son and I watched the old school Top Gun last night to kind of prep for go and see the new movie this week. So that's kind of what I did for my pre-Sunny Die celebration.
Very nice. And yeah, you can't do it on a Sunday. How do you Sunny Die on a Monday? Like it makes the whole thing it kind of spoils the party. But that's why y'all built the headquarters though, man. I gotta call you out here. You got the party place and you're not throwing the party.
Look, I hear you. I need this type of challenge to kind of keep me motivated. So keep at it. Just like send me a bunch of mean tweets throughout the day, just so I can kind of stay focused. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because that's how we solve problems around here, right?
Exactly. The meetings will continue until morale improves, right? I know how this goes. Yeah.
He is the president of LABI, Stephen Wagaspack. Hey, Stephen, let's talk about a few of the highlights of this session. What got done that we should be proud of?
You know, it's interesting because right now a lot of the coverage and discussion is about how temperamental things are at the Capitol and how who's mad at who and who's angry at so and so. The truth is, once that kind of blows through in the next couple of days as a time to reflect, it'll actually be a session that has a lot of wins that people are going to look back on and say, you know what, it was a very effective session. The budget had a lot of money to spend. And we all know a lot of this is funny money, right? Mm-hmm. Some of it came from President Biden with his blank checkbook. Some of it came for inflated income tax and sales tax collections because all the stimulus money was out there. Some of it came from the COVID recovery, but there was a lot of funny money in there. The legislature could have spent it on things that would create holes down the road. Instead, they were pretty cautious about it. And so a lot of that money went in roads and bridges and rural water systems. A lot of that money went down to pay down some debt, like on the unemployment trust fund to stop business taxes. And so I think they spent a lot of money responsibly, and that's a good thing. And then also I would say on some of the policy wins, you know, we kind of came into this session saying, look, our big goal is going to be education reform, you know, kind of workforce development. And a lot of those bills did get through and are going to the governor's desk. And there's still a few more we're working on today, and we hope to kind of really put the cherry on top. But there's going to be some cool wins on education reform also. So when we get past this heat of the moment and we can reflect a little bit, I think you're going to see a session that has a lot of smart investments, a few policy wins, and not bad considering where we are, you know, coming out of a rough time in COVID.
Okay, you mentioned folks being tense and mad at each other in the waning days. I want to rewind on that because I think it's important to take note. This legislature got a lot of really important stuff done early, so you could get mad at each other at the end with all the consensus already, rather than creating some kind of heels dug in standoff that stymies the budget, stymies the construction budget, stymies everything else. All the good stuff got done first, and yeah, go ahead, get mad over your special interest issues later on, but they got the business done before getting into the food fight.
That's spot on. That's exactly accurate. I mean, you got to remember, like they sent the budget and the capital outlay bills up about a week and a half ago to the governor because they wanted him to decide on those while they were in session. So if they had to override vetoes, they could all be there sitting there. That was a tactical move, which was smart. And what happened? What happened? The governor vetoed very little of that budget. And so it was a smart maneuver. However, usually the last day or two of session, when the budget's still downstairs, everyone, yeah, they're fighting, but there's also they're very mindful not to over irritate anyone, especially with the budget, because they don't want to see their projects slip out late. And so there is a discipline with that. Well, since the budget has been up to the governor for about a week and a half now, the discipline left the room. And so now it is a little easier for everyone to say, you know what, I really am frustrated with you, or you know what, you really are bugging me, because there's not as many consequences for that. And so I think you're seeing some of these, you know, typical sessions, these are suppressed emotions that they're now letting us flow out like water. And so I think that's where you're seeing it right now. That's why there's a little more drama right now. But look, drama comes and goes in the session. That's the name of the game. The truth is the scoreboard. And I think when all this drama is done, what you're going to see is a scoreboard that's pretty darn effective.
Absolutely, and completely agree. For those of us where the bills that matter to the most of us, the pet projects, sure, but now you can't hold the budget hostage in order to get your other stuff passed. It reduces the amount of the bad faith horse trading.
Yeah, and look, let's be honest. Look, are there some pet projects in there that probably don't withstand scrutiny? No doubt. And I'm glad there's coverage of it. I'm glad there's an isolation saying, hey, we got to do better than that. But that shouldn't take away from the fact that, look, there's $300 million to the Baton Rouge Bridge. There's going to be an annual $54 million investment on top of that going forward to start building that up. Now, it's not the $500 originally anticipated, but let's not fool ourselves. That does move the ball forward. You got $200 for the Lake Charles Bridge. You got another $200 for 49 South. You got rural roads getting investments all across the state. You've got those annual recurring dedicated dollars from the vehicle sales tax going to priority projects. Those over time are really going to be a foundation of some serious orange barrels around the state. And, you know, folks for a long time now, as long as I can remember, have been saying, why can't y'all do something about roads and bridges? Why can't y'all do that without asking me for more money? That's been the cause celeb forever. Well, this session, they took a pretty strong step in that direction. They're making major investments in infrastructure, and they're not asking for new dollars to do it. So, you know, if every now and then they kind of deliver on what's been a long-time cause celeb, you got to say, hey, thanks, good job, and let's see what else you got next year.
Glad you brought up the Mississippi River Bridge because that did come to fruition, or the money for that has come to fruition, and we're now down to 3 potential paths over the river. What y'all's takeaway on the bridge and where it's going to land?
You know, three desired sites is better than 10, and I can't wait to go from 3 to 1. You know, at the end of the day, look, we've got a bunch of different members in our organization who maybe like one location over another, but as an organization, I would tell you, I don't care. Pick a spot. Let's start building. Let's go. Because I want to make sure that by the first time I drive over that bridge, I'm not, in the back seat because my kids have had to take away my license at this point because I'm so old I can't drive anymore. So I want to be able to drive my own car over that bridge. And if we don't get going, that might not happen. And so, our viewpoint is, hey, 3's better than 10, but 1's better than 3. Let's go. Let's get to that choice and let's start building.
Yeah, the mantra around here is don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, and it seems like it's moving in that direction. A couple of other takeaways from the legislative session as we're visiting with Stephen Wagersbeck, president of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Other one-time dollars. Broadband was talked about a lot on the front end and just hasn't been a headline on the back end. Is that something that's going to be more federal dollars than state?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, if you, I know you've had Vineeth Iyengar on your show before, and I don't know how recently he's been on, but I will tell you that he's kind of been in this methodical grinding out of the implementation of that for a while now, and he's been meeting with some of the rural providers, the more mainstream providers, and kind of like filling those gaps. There's so much federal money, and I think Louisiana is one of the states that kind of hit the ground running and developing offices to distribute some of that, especially for those rural connector pieces. And so, that's really just in the implementation phase right now. It's not really in the legislative session-wise. So those federal dollars are the ones that really are driving a lot of that. And, I'm hopeful over time they'll show good success. What I'm hopeful they don't do, and I know that he's trying to avoid this, is they don't just use those dollars to either overlay current providers that have gone out there and made this investment and kind of jeopardize their investment. That would be a tragic mistake. And also it'd be a mistake if they go and they start building out networks, but they leave gaps or incomplete marks and not having federal dollars to complete it, because we don't want to create holes where the state has to come in, because quite frankly, we're going to have more pressing needs than that. And so, and I don't think they're doing that. I think Vineeth's done a good job to avoid that. And so I think, in a couple of years, you'll be able to look back and see that rollout go well.
Yeah, we're due to have Vineeth back on again, especially now that the session's coming to a close. He should have a lot more to report on. We're looking at a minimum of 8 constitutional amendments coming out of this session. Lobby's take there would be?
So I heard you earlier on in your show talking about the need for constitutional convention. I can't tell you how much I agree with that. And you kind of asking about some of the dates. I want folks to realize what our Constitution is. In 1928, Huey Long put a Constitution in, which basically said everyone's got to travel a dirt road to Baton Rouge and ask for anything they want. And if they're connected, they'll get it. That's kind of how we put that in. It was a very state capital-focused Constitution. And then in 1974, Edwin Edwards came in and basically just tweaked that Constitution. And it's basically a refined version of that, where you still have to go to Baton Rouge on bended knee and ask for anything that you want to be good in terms of roads or schools or bridges or anything. And the truth is, that's not how Texas works. The way Texas works is they have a constitution that doesn't force everyone to go to Austin. It empowers counties to make decisions. It gives them to collect their own revenue to do that, and that's why they've been successful. And so we have almost 100-year constitution that is out of date and uncompetitive. And so what we have to do is, yes, we do have to have a convention. We've got to get real people from the real world to be delegates, not just put legislators on that. And we need to take a fresh look at this. And in my mind, it needs to be more like a federal U.S. Constitution, which is a statement of principles, not restrictions and mandates like we currently have. Right? If you look at the U.S. Congress in our Constitution here in America, it basically says here's what we stand for, and it gives Congress the freedom to work with the federal branch to go and negotiate laws. Here in Louisiana, we need the same thing, so we can have more freedom at the local level to drive decisions and solutions there. I think that's the only way we're going to start competing. And I think we're about 4, 5, 6 years away from a convention getting more popular here, because people are tired of having the state capital run their lives. People aren't going to do that much longer. And I think when that boils over, that's when this constitutional convention is going to pick up steam.
4, 5, 6 years away?
Well, I'd love for it to be today, but I'm just being a realist here, because you got to get through next year. There's no way in the last year of the governor cycle that's going to happen. Then you get into a new term. If we're lucky, a new governor comes in and says, I want to do it. If not, they may need to do it in their second term. So maybe it's as soon as 2 years. Hopefully it's as late as 5 or 6 years. But either way, we've got to get there, shrink our Constitution, and give more control locally for people to decide their own destiny. And if people want to live to a parish that has a high tax rate or a low tax rate or rock star roads or bumpy roads or whatever, let people in the mobility of movement drive that as compared to who's the best buddy of the governor in any term, who's the best buddy of the chairman of this or the speaker of that over any term. That's not what we need. We need more people-driven government. I think a shrunken Constitution is the best way to get there.
Kickoff party's going to be over at the corner of 5th and Main. How about it?
Let's do it, because you've shamed me at the beginning of this of being a pawpaw. So, yes, it'll be all party, all night, all the time at 5th and Main. So anytime you want to go, there will be a raging kegger going on. How about that?
I love it. Yes, no, all on board. He is Stephen Wagasback, president of LABI. Stephen, I'm going to drop you on hold real quick. I'm going to talk to you during the break, okay?
Yep, go for it.
Cool deal. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to check traffic. When we come back from that break, it's time to step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish. We do a segment called The Outside In, and it's coming your way next. Hey, so has nothing. Hers is the last weekend of September. Mine is the last weekend of October. So the bye weekend, which, I work for LSU, so I wouldn't have been able to do it any other weekend in the fall. But, yeah, everything kind of fell right into place, and we're, all on fire with the Holy Spirit. It's amazing. Oh, it's phenomenal. It's amazing. We've had 2 men's retreats since the pandemic, or since things opened back up again. We took 2 years off basically, but we're on number 8 for men and number 7 for women. And yeah, it's registration opens up and it's full in less than a week. So, at the moment, no, but I will remember that for sure. Will do, brother. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you much. Bye. Sorry, had to share that with him. All right. Hey, Brian, looking forward to the interview tomorrow. If you're looking for additional... Nope, not her. Emily. Emily Limbo. 7:55, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Thanks again to Stephen Wagerspeck, old fuddy dud Stephen Wagerspeck, not going out partying for the end of the legislative session. Like I would be, right? No. How much better does it sound to be watching old school Top Gun with your kids than it does to, did he say near the Varsity? All right. Well, I mean, unless they're bringing back Retro Night with DJ Grand Marquis, I'm out. That was an old school reference, by the way. Wow. Take you right back to the 90s there. We got a lot of ground to cover. In our next hour, we're going to talk with Alicia Dennis from People Magazine. People Magazine investigates Season 6 is on its way on Discovery Plus. We're breaking down that in the next hour with Alicia Dennis. She's the editor for crime over there. And Ronnie Rance is going to join us as well. Talk about the Rougarous home opener tomorrow night. Right now, though, we step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish to check in on the surrounding area with the Outside In.
It's time to step outside of East Baton Rouge and get inside our surrounding parishes.
About time for me to be hitting the old dusty trail.
The Outside In, presented by BRPT Lake. With 6 locations and extended hours to fit your needs, BRPT Lake has got you covered. Schedule online now at brptlake.com. The Outside In is coming your way now.
We gotta get out of this town! Yeah, and go where? Where are we gonna go?
We are going to start off in Alexandria. Former Louisiana Congressman John Cooksey, who served in the U.S. Air Force, earned a master's in business administration, and treated thousands of patients as an eye surgeon, has passed away. He was 80 years old. Cooksey, a Republican, served as a 5th District Congressman with Monroe and Alexandria as the population hubs from 1997 through 2003. He limited himself to 3 terms in the House before making a run for the U.S. Senate. He ran against Senator Landrieu. Landrieu won that race. Like I said, Cooksey was 80 years old. Next stop, Washington Parish. A 1-year-old child was killed after being thrown from a car that veered off the right shoulder of a highway, flew in the air, and then flipped upside down. The car did, that is. According to state police, Caitlin Williams was driving along Highway 450 when his car crashed, and 1-year-old Kaysen Williams was ejected from the vehicle and died at the scene. Troopers said Kaysen was not wearing a seatbelt during the crash. Caitlin was also not wearing a seatbelt, suffered serious injuries in the crash. The report says Williams was taken to the hospital. Impairment was not suspected, but troopers said toxicology samples were taken for analysis. Heading west to Lafayette, the Pikes over at ULL have been suspended for campus for 3 years. Pi Kappa Alpha suspension through May of 2025 comes after a fall hazing incident involving sleep deprivation and the performance of calisthenics was reported back in March. I know, this is where hazing's at now. Eric Marin, a spokesman for the university, said reported all this in a statement. In addition to the chapter's suspension, the university said 8 men have been issued misdemeanor summonses by the campus police department for charges related to the alleged hazing. 7 of them were current students and fraternity members in spring of 2022, while 1 was no longer at the university. Pi Kappa Alpha's charter at UL Lafayette was originally started back in 1969 and reorganized in campus in 2007. They'll be on hold until 2025 due to calisthenics. Whatever. Closing out New Orleans. Oh, I love this story. Closing out in New Orleans, musician Vince Vance has filed a 9-page lawsuit against Mariah Carey. Filed the lawsuit on Friday. Why? It alleges her 1994 song, All I Want for Christmas Is You, was breaching copyright from Vince Vance's 1989 song of the same title. According to the lawsuit, the song made it onto the Billboard charts back in the 93 Christmas season. Along with this, lawsuit says Vance applied for and received copyright certificates for All I Want for Christmas Is You. This was a year before Mariah Carey came out with her song. A scant 29 years later, he realized this might have been a problem. CBS News is next. Like, I would be all on board with Vince Vance and the Valiants for wanting to sue Mariah Carey if he sued Mariah Carey in 1994 or 95 or 96. I'm going to stop there. But oh my God, it's 2022. How do you just pick up one day and be like, $20 million because of something you did?
That's like the Nirvana baby.
I know. Well, the Nirvana baby had to grow up to become an adult first. We all saw his little baby.
Yeah,
wiener.
but also, like, You made a lot of money off of that and never complained until you were like, what, 28 years old?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then...
Yeah, even that's a 10-year window from becoming an adult. So stupid. 29 years later, Vince Vance realized she never had permission. 29 years later, he woke up and said, I want $20 million. By the way, you're asking, you know what? I need to save this joke for on the air. I have it written down, and I ran out of time. I did. Bruh. Inching up my ass. They're not inching up anything. They have skyrocketed. You can't inch after you skyrocket. That soundbite is shit.
Starbucks.
Right. Ugh.
Do I put gas or do I get Starbucks coffee? You know what? F the gas. I'm getting Starbucks. Oh my god.
What a garbage take. Do I good Starbucks? You know what? Go in the gas station. Racetrack has surprisingly good coffee. Circle K has decent coffee.
I love Racetrack.
Birthdays today.
Yeah, I've got like 2.
Just 2?
No, I have. Today was not a good day for history. Like, there wasn't a lot going on this day, but I got some birthdays. I've got more deaths than I do birthdays.
Well, I mean, there's one really big day in history today, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I have it.
I hope so.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Monday, you know. Happy Monday. Who says that?
I mean, she says it with such enthusiasm. Ooh, another good birthday. .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you. Alondra producing. Very, very busy hour as we're going to talk a little true crime in our next segment. The folks over at People Magazine have their Discovery Plus series, People Magazine Investigates. It premieres today over on Investigation Discovery, and they dive into a whole ton of stories, everything from the Grown Family Massacre through Justice in Jasper. They are all over the country. No stops in Louisiana on this season, but nonetheless, there's a lot of ground to cover. And, well, I want to get into the compulsion with true crime that we have. Alicia Dennis is the crime editor for People Magazine. She's going to join us in our next segment to talk about it. Also this hour, Ronnie Rance owns the Rougarou. The Baton Rouge Rougarou are back, baby. Tomorrow night is their home opener. I can't wait to dive in and talk about this. Also, we'll probably recap a little bit of LSU over the weekend as they did not take care of business yesterday. I mean, right out the blocks. Up to a 2-run homer by Cade Doty in the first inning, and then just kind of fizzled with the offense after that. The late inning heroics did not come through yesterday. That's all still to come. Oh, before we get into this day in history, I was doing a story in the Outside In. I got to ask this question again, and feel free to sound off on YouTube as well. Whose side do you have in this Vince Vance versus Mariah Carey lawsuit? A lawsuit was filed late last week. Vince Vance, of the acclaimed Vince Vance and the Valiants, the longtime New Orleans group, they had All I Want for Christmas Is You, right? Like, it made the Christmas charts in 93. Well, in 94, Mariah Carey comes out with a completely different sounding All I Want for Christmas Is You, but it has the same title. Well, here we are in 2022, and Vince Vance realized that Mariah Carey never had permission. Vince Vance says, the lawsuit says Vance applied for and received the copyright certificate for All I Want for Christmas Is You a year before Carey came out with her song of the same title. My question to you is this. It's 2022. You're dialing all the way back to 1994. Why is it now that you've got a lawsuit asking for $20 million? And oh, by the way, why are you asking for $20 million? Your song says, I don't need expensive things. Well, apparently you do, because you're seeking $20 million. Whose side are you on here? Technically, I guess Vince Vance is right. If he had the copyright, he had the copyright. But oh my word, from 94 till now, and you just wake up one day and say, 20 million. Anywho, it feels like it's ancient history, which brings us around to this day in history.
Marty, you've got to come back with me.
Where?
A long, long time ago.
Who's coming with me? We have to go back, Kate. We have to go back.
Say, kids, what time is it?
It's time for This Day in History.
Casey says on YouTube, maybe he just heard it.
What?
Vince Vance, like maybe Carey song.
That's a good one, Casey.
That's hilarious. It's everywhere.
Okay, good morning, everybody. It's time for This Day in History.
Yeah, it is.
All right, and I'm going to start off in 1716. The French transport the first African slaves to Louisiana.
Whoa.
On this day in 1716.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
It is. In 1844, George Williams originated the Young Men's Christian Association, or the YMCA, in London.
I had no idea the YMCA started in London.
I didn't know that either.
I just assumed it was an American thing.
I also didn't know that it went all the way back to 1844.
Right?
That's a long time ago that people were doing that dance.
Yeah. Maybe a couple years from now, he might sue the village people.
Maybe so. In 1925, the automobile manufacturer Chrysler Corporation was incorporated with Walter P. Chrysler as president. And in 1944, the Normandy invasion begun.
It is D-Day, yes.
It is D-Day, yes. Led by U.S. General Dwight D. Eisenhower. An allied armada of ships, planes, and landing craft, and some 156,000 troops began the invasion of northern France from England on this day. In 1998,
You're not.
Yes.
You're
you
not.
know I am. You knew I was going to do this.
You cannot go from D-Day to this.
Okay.
All right. Do it anyway. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay,
All right.
in 1998, the American TV show Sex and the City, starring Sarah Jessica Parker, began airing on HBO, and it became one of the most popular and influential television series of the late 1990s and early 2000s. I was also 4 months old on this day in 1998. So I was watching Sex and the City with my mom at the time. I just didn't know. In 2015, American Pharoah won the Belmont Stakes, becoming the first thoroughbred in more than 35 years to capture horse racing's Triple Crown.
Very nice. Also, this day in 1946,
Uh-huh.
On this day in 1946, the National Basketball Association was founded at the Commodore Hotel in New York, and on this day in 1966, the NFL and AFL announced their merger.
Nice. All right, I got some birthdays.
Go for it.
In 1755, American patriot Nathan Hale was born on this day. He had a pretty badass quote, "I only regret that I have but one life to give for my country."
Yep.
I like that.
Yep.
In 1867, David Abercrombie was born on this day. The founder of Abercrombie and Fitch. I did not know Abercrombie and Fitch was that old either. YMCA and Abercrombie and Fitch. In 1907, Bill Dickey, Hall of Fame catcher, 11-time All-Star, 14 World Series appearances for the New York Yankees, was born on this day in Bastrop, Louisiana. And in 1944, Tommy Smith, he was the first to break the 20-second barrier for the 200-meter sprint. He was born on this day. I got some deaths.
Oh, also, happy birthday to Paul Giamatti,
Oh,
Carol
yeah.
Baskin, New Orleans Saints Reuben Mays, and LSU Tiger Tyson Jackson.
Okay, cool. Some deaths. 1799, Patrick Henry, American revolutionary. He's the guy famous for saying, "Give me liberty" or "Give me death." In 1961, Carl Jung died on this day. He's the father of analytic psychology. In 1968, Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated on this day. Kennedy curse. You know how that goes. And also on this day, in 1979, Jack Haley passed away. He's also known as the Tin Man on The Wizard of Oz. If I only had a brain. In 2011, Shrek the Sheep died at 16. He held the record for the biggest shorn fleece. And in 2016, Kimbo Slice passed away on this day.
Oh, wow.
Rest in peace, Kimbo.
So along with D-Day, it's also National Yo-Yo Day, but since it is D-Day and that carries so much more weight, we're going to call it there.
It is National D-Day.
All right, we're due up for a break. In fact, we're long for a break. When we come back, let's talk People Magazine Investigates. Season 6 launches today. Alicia Dennis joins us next. Sorry, I meant to let you know ahead of time. We were tight for time on this one. When I have the... I should have mentioned it. Like, she's already...
No worries. Okay.
Hey.
Let's get traffic and come right back in. Okay.
.816 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Ran a little long in that opening segment, and we normally run a little long in that opening segment at 8 o'clock hour. So let's dive right in. Alicia Dennis is the editor of crime for People Magazine. Today, June 6th, People Magazine Investigates Season 6 premieres with a 2-hour episode. Joining us now to talk about it is Alicia Dennis. Good morning. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
No, glad to have you on here. I dive right in with a lot of this investigation discovery stuff. We have a compulsion with true crime in this country that I don't think will ever be quenched, and yet there's never a shortage of content either. Let's start with what we can expect from Season 6, and then we'll maybe break down a little bit more of the of that compulsion on the back end. What can we expect to see tonight?
That sounds like a good plan. Tonight is a really fascinating case. The reason it's 2 hours is we couldn't possibly do it justice in just one. It's a case about the Groney family is at the center of this. A family who encounters a horrific serial killer who targets them. And within this case, as awful as it is, you do learn a lot about resilience, a lot about survival, a lot about hope, if you can believe that or not. And the investigation is very intense with a lot of twists and turns before you get to find out exactly what happened. So it's good.
So
good case.
You've got the mother, her boyfriend, and son were all killed, but there are more characters involved here.
There are.
Let's walk through a little bit of it without spoiling too much of the story. Let's walk through it as much as you can.
Well, I think that it's one of those stories that strikes terror in you, but at the same time, you're amazed by the human condition that people can survive and the ways that they do. I think that it's just one of those situations where we're all in our homes and we feel safe, and we think that we are, and in this particular situation that was just so horribly not the case. I really am trying to not tell you too much
all
you
good.
Get into it, but it's fascinating.
There's another part of this that I want to touch on, because you did mention this was at the hands of a serial killer, and here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in fact, last week, I believe it was, we had a local news station took a 20-year anniversary look at a serial killer here within Baton Rouge. When it's a serial killer, it changes the game. It changes the entire perspective, and it enhances that terror, does it not?
It really does. And there's just so much investigation that's been done into trying to understand the mind of someone who kills in this way. And, people argue about whether someone is born with that tendency, if that's something that happens to them throughout their lives. And I think that it changes the investigation, too. Because a lot of times when people are investigating murders, they're looking at crimes of passion, or they're looking at moments that maybe changed the course of someone's life and sent them off the edge to turn them into a killer. And in cases of serial killers, it's just a different psychology that's going on.
And this isn't like we would think from, say, the Zodiac or Son of Sam or anything like that. We're talking like rural Idaho here. Right,
exactly. And I think that that's what's chilling, is that you were talking about looking back at this Baton Rouge serial killer, is that really it doesn't matter whether you're in, New York City or whether you're in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. There can be evil anywhere.
Absolutely. We're speaking with Alicia Dennis about the 6th season of People Magazine Investigates. Alicia, before we break down the rest of the season, now I want to backtrack and talk a little bit about the compulsion with it. And this is something that y'all take very seriously, and investigation discovery is just a full deep dive throughout. Season 6, are you still continually amazed at the number of stories that there are to break down?
That's such a good question, because, at People Magazine, we cover crime every day. We're a news organization, and we're a weekly magazine. And every issue, pretty much almost, without fail, has a case in it of some kind, either one that's being investigated that's from previous years or one that's happening around us. And so what's important to us is try to tell these stories of the victims and the families and the people that are at the center of these cases, the investigators a lot of times. Sometimes it's a family member that's keeping this case alive. And so there's a real responsibility in it, I think, and you would be surprised to see how many episodes we have that are just on the back burner. Like, we could do, season after season after season because we have so many cases to look into.
No, 1,000%. And the stories behind them, I think, kind of lend to a bigger narrative about the psyche of our nation.
I think that's true. It's really odd when you think about how obsessed people are with this genre. You mentioned that before, how much true crime there is, how many people are watching it, and how many people are reading it. And I think that maybe there's something about several things. Like, we all want to be an armchair quarterback and figure out how we would do something differently. I think in cases like this, you're sitting there and you're trying to see if you can figure out the crime. If you were the investigator, how would you do it differently? And then I think there's also that you feel grateful that kind of thing isn't happening in your life. Or, maybe you connect in some way with a victim or a family. I know that we've had people come to us and say, I realized that there was something going wrong in my life, or I realized I was in a scary relationship when I saw this and I had to leave. There is some part of it where people are looking for a connection too.
Meanwhile, we are saturated with it, to be sure.
Yeah.
So I've got to ask you, as the editor for People Magazine when it comes to crime, how do you approach making sure the story is told without, and considering that saturation, how do you tell the story without desensitizing the listener, the viewer, the reader, to the level of just terror and horror and inhumanity that's within?
I think it's really important to us when we tell these stories that we make sure that there is the victim's family, the people at the center of it, the innocents, if you will, the people that, had their lives shattered in this irreversible way, that we are really finding it to be our responsibility to tell those stories. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes part of the healing process or part of trying to figure something out is in the retelling of it. And so it's super important to us to make sure that we have those people and that we are honoring their voices and their stories. And I think that that's what makes the other part palatable, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. 12 episodes in season 6. Walk us through a little bit of the journey you had in putting this together.
Well, we have such an exceptional team, and our producers and our executive producers and our, at Radley that we work with as well, sit down and, everybody is trying to figure out which stories are going to be the richest for this season. And in 6, we have kind of a combination of mysteries as well as stories that will be resolved and do have, an adjudication or an arrest in them. But one thing that's super exciting is this year we have a case in the episode that premieres July 25th where we actually helped bring about an arrest. So our investigation actually helped crack this very cold case. It's Charlie and Joy Hibbs, that family, if anybody wants to look that up. And it was through our investigation that an arrest was finally made. So that's very satisfying for us.
So in running through looking at the rundown of all the episodes, this one, Justice for Joy, is the episode you're talking about. It takes place in Croydon, Pennsylvania. Alicia, I'm seeing rural versus urban. I'm seeing, you got Denver, Colorado, and Jasper, Texas, back to back. The selection process that goes into this, I mean, clearly it's looking like there's a call to alert that this can happen anywhere.
That's right. It's that, whether it's a small town or a big town, no matter what your background or your walk of life, these stories exist everywhere.
The most surprising thing you learned along the way in this season?
Oh, I really was surprised by the years. I guess I shouldn't have been, but the years sometimes of daily investigation that goes into some of these cases. And there was this one particular case where we were following this particular investigator around, who even retired, couldn't stop thinking about the case. And, you know, you think about what your job is like and how sometimes you can stop thinking about it. This was a particular situation where this never went away, like ever, ever, ever. And I guess that was a little bit surprising to me, to think that you would think about this every single day of your life for decades.
We're talking with Alicia Dennis. She's the editor of crime for People Magazine. People Magazine Investigates Season 6 premieres tonight, 2-hour-long episode on the opener. It is called The Groene Family Massacre. Alicia, y'all talk with survivors. Y'all talk with family members, neighbors, law enforcement. What do you find, and I mean, you know, I can't have you poll all the journalists involved, but what do you find is the most informative there? Is it the subjective, emotional stories of family members, or the objective fact recounting from law enforcement? What pulls the most into the retelling of the story?
You know what? That changes almost every single case. You never know. You never know what that moment is going to be, whether it's going to come from someone in law enforcement or, you know, the FBI, or someone who was brought in a cold case scenario who has brand new eyes on it, or if it's going to be somebody at the center of this story, someone who, you know, a kid who survived, who managed to figure out how to, you know, help the investigation or something like that. You never know. And I think that that's what is another reason that it's so compelling to watch these episodes.
I got to ask you about 2 episodes in particular before we get you out of here. One of them is titled The Zombie Hunter. That leaves a lot to question. What's The Zombie Hunter about?
The Zombie Hunter is this case where we have a 19-year-old who leaves her apartment. She never returns. When her body is found in this desert area, police are wondering if she's another victim of what they're calling the zombie killer in this particular area, the name that they have given a serial killer that they're trying to track down. And I think you'll see that there are so many twists and turns here where you just don't know until you're getting towards the end of this episode what could have happened.
That one doesn't premiere until August 15th. The very next week will be Natural Born Killers is the title of the episode. That has previously been the title of a movie. Is there crossover here?
There's not.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I was curious about that one.
Thing. Yeah.
So season 6 premieres today with a 2-hour episode. I gotta ask you. I know we got episode 1 of season 6, but I gotta ask you: is season 7 already in the works?
Well, wouldn't that be great? Here's the thing. Every single season, we have episodes that we are working on that just didn't make it into that particular season. Mm-hmm. So let me tell you this. If there is a 7, we're already on it.
She is Alicia Dennis, the editor of crime for People Magazine. We're talking about People Magazine Investigates. It is tonight, and of course, folks can find it on Investigation Discovery and Discovery Plus. Alicia, thank you so much for the time this morning.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, glad to have you on. Glad to be talking about it. It was, look, this is something that we find very compelling, and there's no shortage of it. So just to kind of run you down where all these episodes are going to be, tonight's Idaho, next week West Virginia, then Gary, Indiana after that, and then the Lewis and Clark Valley along the Idaho-Washington border. Like, they were able to go back to Idaho twice. You got Denver, Colorado, Jasper, Texas, Croydon, Pennsylvania, Farmington, New Mexico, Tempe, Arizona, Ocean City, Maryland, and Troy, Missouri before it's all said and done. You can find it at Investigation Discovery and on Discovery Plus. It is called People Magazine Investigates. We're going to break for news here in just a second. Got to remind you about the folks over at Mathurin's Market. You know where to find them. Downtown on 3rd Street and in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center that's directly across Nicholson from Tiger Stadium. Look, summertime is here. If you're just looking for that quick little outing with the kids, if you're going full on staycation, Mathurin's is your headquarters. Why? Well, when they're downtown on 3rd Street, if you're walking around the grounds of the Capitol or visiting the riverfront, Mathurin's is right there. Stop off for lunch. Grab yourself an ice-cold beverage to cool off. And, oh, by the way, they are a full-service grocery store. Meanwhile, if you want to go visit Mike the Tiger, boom, they're right there. Same thing applies. 2 locations of Mathern's, downtown on 3rd and in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. If you want to find out what you're having for lunch, follow them on Facebook. They post up their lunch specials every day. It's Mathern's Market, downtown and on campus. Oh, all right. That was fantastic. Alicia Dennis from People Magazine. A series called People Magazine Investigates. Season 6 premieres tonight. True crime stuff. So, no, they're not. They didn't hit on. They hit on Baton Rouge last season, or the West Baton Rouge, the Killing Field story. They touched on it, but I had her back on again this season. So come on in. And all right. Well, we're always on YouTube. And you're Ronnie Alondra. You're right here. So we are always live on YouTube. So
So YouTube, if you're live, go to brrugaroo.com, go to brrugaroo.com and get your tickets, season tickets, merchandise, whatever for the Baton Rouge Rougarou home opener tomorrow night, 7 p.m. at Pete Goolsby Field. The cool thing you're going to see on social media probably in 6 hours is a giant refrigerator box where you can sit in it and go get cool and watch the game. So LSU, there's only 10 in the world. LSU's got one, the Saints have one, the Raiders have one, the University of Miami has one, whatever. So the LSU rents a second one for the month of August for their football team.
Okay.
It's about 40 feet long. It's about 8 feet wide. It's got windows and front, doors like a Circle K in the middle.
Yeah.
Awning that comes off the front, and benches in there. And you go in there and you sit down and you watch. You cool off. So the football team goes in there. They put it at like 8 degrees or something. They go in there after practice. Go in there and their body temperature comes down. They'll even take like breaks during practice. Okay, go in there for 5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, and so
kind of hits the reset button.
We're gonna have one of them because the one they rent, they bring it from South Louisiana. It's gonna stay at Goldsby until the end of July when they're gonna bring it to the LSU.
Yeah.
And so now we're gonna set up a beer zone. We have the cool zone. We have some fans, beer area in front. We got a daiquiri trailer
love a
right
good
next
beer.
to us. And so,
dude, that's
if you wanna
awesome.
Cool off, you go in the cool zone.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. That's
It's gonna be awesome. You'll be seeing a lot of social media. We'll get BRZ, AFB, all them out there to cover because nobody's got that in the country. It's like literally the only place in America. This is what I'll show you what the Saints have. And
I've been in the one in the Pelicans facility. But that's more like a cryo thing than anything.
Yeah. This is on the field. This is what the Saints have, and ours is just plain white. We'll get it wrapped, but.
Oh wow! Okay.
So the football players literally on the practice field.
Yeah.
Through the doors, and they walk in there. There's windows. They sit down on the bench. That way they look out,
and just it hits the reset.
As a fan, you can sit in there. It's going to be between home plate and first base. You can sit there and watch the game while you're in there.
Very nice. I like it.
But it's a game changer. Like it's so hot between 6 and doors open at 6, games at 7. It's so hot till 8:30, 8:45 when the sun starts, goes down.
Yeah.
That if you just go get a little blast for 3-4 minutes, it makes it a game changer. It's not, everybody's invited. It's not like a VIP thing. Anybody can walk in there and get cool for 3-4 minutes and walk out.
Is there a limit on it?
Like 40 people at a time or something like that.
Oh no, I meant like the amount of time you're allowed to stay in there.
Oh no, I mean we'll have. Like
we're not going to turn this into a whole cool sculpting session.
Right. I mean, 15 minutes is what they say. They go like, you need to probably put a sign like 15 minutes is the max you want to do it. But I mean, like it's going to be so cold, you're not going to stay in there.
Right.
At some point, you got to get out.
Well, and the crazy thing about Pete Goolsby Field, and I've been baffled by this from the first time I went out there. It's not as hot as I would expect it to be.
Yeah, it's got that. The roof over the ballpark. And
Yeah,
the
but
sun
like
sets is like west, and it's kind of behind the stadium.
Right.
So
Right.
It
It just.
stands. It's not really in your spot.
But it amazes me because you're talking about, they're made of cinder block, the bleachers made of cinder blocks and whatnot, they're underneath me. But the first time I walked up there, I was like, this is going to be a friggin' pizza oven. And it's not. Party deck's back?
The Bears Lounge
Oh, good Lord.
There'll be a big tent in the corner with the Bears, catered food that they bring out and cook and
Very nice.
serve every
Very
game.
nice.
Unlimited beer, soft drinks, water. If you're in the deck, you have to have a wristband. You can't take the food off the deck. It's for private groups or, We do have some, we can put up to 50 people there. We do have some 25-person groups on those nights. We'll actually sell 25 tickets at $25 a piece. And you get you a ticket into the game, and it gets you unlimited food and drink.
Nice. Got the inflatables for the kids again? Yeah. We're going to walk through all this live in a minute. So
Truck by the inflatables on this side on the third base line. First base line, refrigerator box, daiquiri trailer, food truck, which we rotate 2 or 3 restaurants, and then the party deck.
Okay.
That's on the first base side.
So party deck's even further down than.
Yeah, for party deck's just beyond first base bag. Like right
Yeah.
back
Okay.
of
Yeah.
the
Okay. So you didn't move the party
bag.
deck.
Same
It's
spot,
all right.
but just between there and the thing, we have that big.
There's a lot going on.
On the back of that concrete slab, refrigerator, literally next to it, daiquiri trailer, next to that, food truck, and then we'll have the generator behind it that runs all of it.
Awesome. So, whoop.
We're 3-2.
I was going to ask.
3-2. We have one more game tonight in Seguin, Texas. So we start the season with a 6-game road trip.
What the hell is Seguin, Texas?
It's 25 miles before you get to San Antonio and I-10.
All right. Like anybody's going to know where. Yeah, I know you know. Her family's from San Antonio.
Seguin's almost the suburbs.
So.
We have a mascot, Rue, R-O-U-X is our mascot.
Yep.
He's the our mascot is one of the Mike the Tiger mascots. He's the co-captain of Mike the Tiger. So he's going to be fantastic. He wants to be a professional mascot for a living, so that tells you all you need to know.
I don't know how you reconcile that with your parents, but okay. Completely shifting gears from serial killers to legends of the Bayou. We're talking about the Rougarou, not the actual Rougarou that so many parents would scare their children with. We're talking about the Baton Rouge Rougarou. They are back, and home opener is tomorrow night. Joining us now is the owner of the Rougarou, Ronnie Rance. Ronnie, welcome aboard, sir. How are you, man?
Thanks for having me, B. I appreciate it. Yeah, the first thing I start with is explaining what the Rougarou is, because I feel like half the population knows, half the population doesn't. It's a mythical swamp creature. Think of Bigfoot.
Right.
And in South Louisiana.
Right.
That's the Rougarou.
It's somewhere in between Bigfoot and a werewolf.
Right.
It's somewhere in between there, but it comes from the Bayou and it pulls your toes. That's a lot of us grew up with it. So the Rougarou are back this year, already off and running. Got a 6-game road stretch to start the season off.
We are a wood-bat college summer baseball league. There's over 20 college summer leagues in the country. Most famously, the Cape Cod and the Alaska League are the most famous leagues. Been around for like 70 years. We play in the Texas Collegiate League, and it's a wood-bat league. So just think of professional baseball using a wood bat with different sound.
Oh yeah.
College. And all of our players are currently in college and have college eligibility remaining. We opened up the season on the road for the first 6 games. We're 3-2 currently. Have a game tonight in Seguin against the River Monsters.
The River Monsters?
Okay. They got a great logo.
Yeah.
And we play tomorrow night against Victoria Generals. Our home opener is Tuesday, June 7th at Goldsby Field, 7 o'clock. All our games are 7.
All the games 7 o'clock. So what's in store for Rougarou fans this year when they go to Pete Goldsby Field?
Think of minor league baseball with college players. That's truly what it is. When you have minor league baseball, what do you have? You think of cool concessions. We've got the Kona Ice truck out there for the kids. We've got the inflatable zone with a couple different inflatables and things for the kids to run around and play with. And so it's family friendly. Bring the grandkids, bring the little ones, whatever. Let them run around inside and have a good time. Safe environment. We've got a lot of security and whatnot as well. Our concession stand, I take pride in, Brian.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me. I'm a giant human being. I'm not going to sell anything I wouldn't eat and enjoy.
Right,
okay?
right.
So I personally taste tested everything we're going to sell.
I have no doubt.
Chris's Specialty Meats hamburgers. You don't get
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. No, they were up here week before last. had the sliders.
You ever been to Costco and got a hot dog?
Yes.
We sell those exact same hot dogs.
The big ones.
The big ones, yes.
That's a meal.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, all of that at the ballpark. Obviously, you can drink cold beer. You can get. We got a daiquiri trailer out there with 6 different kinds of daiquiris. But the coolest thing we have that nobody in the country has, literally nobody.
And literally the coolest.
This is true. There's a giant. Think of going to a game, sitting in a suite with air conditioning that's pumping about 20 degrees. So when you go to a ballpark nowadays, from till about 8:30 when that sun starts to set, it's hot. There's just nowhere around it. Shade, no shade, it's hot. But we have a giant refrigerator viewing box with windows on the side. You go in there, you cool off for 5 minutes, and you're refreshed. You walk right outside. There's a bar, High Boys, little pop-up tents. You got the beer garden. You got daiquiri trailers. We've got fans blowing. We have a cool zone that no one's got in the country because we've got the same refrigerator box that the Saints have, LSU has, University of Alabama has. That's pretty cool.
So, yeah, literally and figuratively, and this thing is going to be a game. Well, first of all, Goldsby Field is not as hot as I would have thought.
Right.
It continually amazes me. I've been out there year after year for Rougarou.
Sun sets in the west, the way they position the field, the way it's got a covered roof, it sets behind you, so it's nice.
The way they position, like they did it intentionally.
Well, they actually do.
Really?
They back in the old days, in the park's 70 years old, they built the fields to a certain angle, and if most ballparks are at a certain angle. That's how the term southpaw came into existence, because a left-hander's arm was pointed towards the south.
So. Okay, I just work under the assumption that Baton Rouge just got it right from dumb luck, not from actual engineering. But so the team itself. Let's talk about the team, and we'll get back to the cool box in a minute. But let's talk about the team itself. Who are we?
So our head coach is Wes Terrio, the Riot, Ryan Terrio's brother. Wes is the head coach over at Dunham High School, and his whole staff over there. Rick Smith, Ricky Jr., father-son combo or assistant coaches. All three of them either played or coached in college.
Yeah.
And then Sean Teague is our pitching coordinator. Sean played at LSU in the 90s, was a pitching coach at Georgia Southern, Tulane. So I've got as good a staff as you can have in summer college baseball. Good guys, and they do an excellent job.
The game itself, now talk about wooden bats, is a different sort of it's a different feel than going out to the box for sure. Like you said, the sound is different, but so is the way the ball travels. So is the way the ball comes off the bat. All of these things are a little bit different, but I think bigger than that is the players that are out there are looking to fine-tune their game. You're going to get effort.
No question. They're all guys that are currently in college, and they're either looking to get better to go back to their school where they're at. They're looking to transfer. They might be in the transfer portal, or they're trying to get drafted. And and there's going to be scouts at the games, and they're trying to get a look for either to sign a free agent contract at the end of the summer or for next year as well.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the guys that are on the team, where you see them from Northwestern State, LSU. Eunice is often popular in there.
We've got a bunch of, we've got a couple of Catholic High guys, a Parkview Baptist guy, a Walker High guy, but it's all players that, we've got 3 Tulane players, we got a couple Northwestern State players, some LSU Eunice players, we got 3 UL Lafayette players. And so we did that on purpose. We want there to be a connection. When you go to the ballparks, you're going to be able to see. We'll give you a roster, and we'll tell you when they're batting, hey, from LSU Eunice, So I think that's important, and we're going to have some LSU guys once Jay Johnson and his team is done, and they figure out when their season's over and they have their exit meetings. We'll get a couple of his players.
So, and we'll save a couple minutes on the back end to touch on that. Since I've got you in studio, I want to utilize you. But who are the studs? Who are we looking for?
Well, BRCC's got some pretty good players. Obviously our catcher has been done a really nice job the first 5 games because we were low. We've got 3 catchers, but one of them is not coming until the 13th because he's from South Africa, played at Lamar for Will Davis, former LSU
Oh,
Tiger.
wow, cool.
And so he had to do some stuff with his citizenship. We've got another player, Mr. Lambert, went to Catholic High, played at Tulane. He's going to be joining us on Tuesday for our home opener. So, Evan Menard gets a lot of credit, man. It's been tough when you're in Texas on a 6-game road trip, catch every single game, every single inning, and not take a break. But he's a stud over at BRCC. Thomas Simino does a nice job over there as the head coach at BRCC. So he's got some guys, Hutchinson as well, shortstop from him. We've got 3 guys playing for us from BRCC.
How long does the season run? How many home games are there?
24 home games, 48 total, 24 home, 24 on the road. Season runs till July 31st, so between June 7th and July 31st, the Baton Rouge Rougarou Summer College Woodbat baseball team will play 24 home games. All of them start at 7 o'clock, varied days of the week.
We have fireworks for every Friday home game.
Love it.
We have cheeseburger in paradise for every Saturday night home game where $2 cheeseburgers, half price frozen margaritas, all that's going on. We've got we honor our first responders on Sunday. Any of them past or present, show an ID. You and another guest get in free.
Wow.
We do certain specials every night of the week.
Love it. How much are season tickets run?
How about this? $1 a ticket if you buy the family 4-pack of season tickets for $100. 4 people get to go to every single game, 24 home games. And the great thing, if you can't use them, give the tickets to somebody else at work or whatever for $100.
Right.
It's $1 a ticket.
So we've been talking on this show about gas prices. We've been talking about flight prices. We've been talking about how vacation travel is being curbed so much, and a lot of folks are opting for the staycation route.
Right.
I'm having trouble envisioning something that would be an easier deal than this.
Right. I mean, go to brrougarou.com. That's BRROUGAROU.com. Or you can get your season tickets at the Baton Rouge Rougarou ticket window tomorrow. Our first home game's at 7 o'clock. Gates open at 6. Our ticket booth will be open at 5:30. You can just walk up or go to brrougarou.com. You can buy the tickets electronically if you want.
So we've done this a number of times. I bring the kids out. My 10-year-old daughter loves chasing down foul balls.
Hey, tell her I'll give her $3 for every foul ball she gets. These things are expensive.
She might run you dry on that because we've got enough at home to sell back by the box. It's crazy, but she loves running down the foul balls. I could speak firsthand to this. I'm a big fan. I love the atmosphere because it's a minor league baseball atmosphere with college guys that are like I said, you get effort, which it makes all the difference in the world. But it is a family-friendly atmosphere. Parking is right across the street. It's easy peasy in and out.
Easy in and out. It's right off the interstate.
I know.
If you're coming on 110 from Baton Rouge, like you're going towards the airport, when the curve right there with the state capitol and Memorial Stadium. We get off at Memorial Drive, and we're literally 1,000 yards to the right of Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, if you follow Catholic high football, it's the exact same parking lot. You can't go wrong. All right, while I got you said you're going to have some LSU guys after the season's over and exit interviews. Does that happen today?
Boy, this is as much of a coin flip as they've ever had because both teams are probably out of pitching. LSU, though, I would expect's in a good spot. I would expect Hilliard's going to start. He only threw 55 pitches on Friday. He can come back today. You don't get much more than 5 innings out of him normally anyway. So hopefully he gives you 3 or 4. Fontenot can come back as well. Devin Fontenot threw well on Friday, didn't pitch Saturday or Sunday. And then Gervais, I think that's the key. They'll extend him.
Yeah.
He's their best reliever, has been all year long. He normally pitches an inning or 2. He may go 3 or 4 tonight.
So you're a pitcher, but from a batting perspective, what happened to the bats yesterday?
It was weird, man. The lefty, which I love a lefty. I was a lefty myself. Just pounded the strike zone. And look, that's the key to the postseason. Is you got to throw strikes. You got to limit the free passes. And he threw the fastball 90 miles an hour in the outside corner, and LSU struggled. Had a nice movement on his fastball.
Does USM have anything left in the tank pitching wise? I mean, because I would argue that when you got guys that are used to seeing SEC pitching, it might actually be beneficial to have somebody better on the hill.
Honestly, yes. Both of them have. I mean, look, it's all hands on deck. I mean, your season comes to an end if you lose tonight. So I don't care how sore you are, how whatever. You're probably telling your coach, I can give you 1 or 2, whatever you need. So other than if guys that got burnt out in the last 48 hours, I think anybody who pitched Friday or anybody who's only thrown a couple of innings this weekend's available.
So beyond this week, I mean, if they make it the next week, it's actually looking pretty right now to have Ole Miss come here.
They will. I mean, whether it's Arizona or Ole Miss, they're gonna host. I mean, I think they're a higher seed than Ole Miss. Yeah, that's going to be amazing. And the storylines would be incredible. Jay Johnson versus Mike Bianco in a super regional for the second year in a row because Ole Miss and Arizona played last year.
Right.
And I really believe this, and so does Jay Johnson. I had this conversation with him. If Mike Bianco wins that game and goes to the College World Series, he's your coach at LSU. Jay Johnson won. He went to Omaha. He's the coach at LSU. It was the hot hand, and so a lot of lives would have been different had they other team would have won.
And then in the meanwhile, Ole Miss came to town and handled business earlier in the year, so you got the revenge aspect.
A few weeks ago.
He is Ronnie Rance. brrougarou.com. We got a break for your money now. All right. Yeah, I'll have the kids out there probably half a dozen times this year, and it's we Abby cannot get enough of it. She's like, by the end of the night, she's pouring with sweat because she's been running all over
I'm
creation.
telling you, man. So we do these things called Gold Bucks, which is where like you bring back, like, we'll give awards to interns or fans or like on the field, spin the bat, whoever wins it, and they're called Gold Bucks. They're good for either merchandise or the concession stand.
Okay.
So for every foul ball, we're giving like $3 or $4 in Gold Bucks to every kid that returns it to the concession stand, because those balls are
concession
hard
stand.
to find.
Or what about merch?
It's good for concession
or merch. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Gold Bucks are good for concession.
Oh, she's gonna run you dry, Ronnie.
Good.
Appreciate you. I mean, my daughter will walk out with a full-on Rougarou prom dress. I'll be right back.
Looks like Brian's done too.
Yeah, he like hauled ass to the bathroom.
Yeah, I'm done.
Fun.
Yeah, I'm good. Just caught a little coughing spell, and I don't know why. Yeah. Stop it! Don't put that in the universe, Alondra.
Okay.
All right.
Man. I gotta hit the gym. I'm out of pre-workout. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe shotgun a Red Bull like you do.
I don't shotgun it.
I'll shotgun it.
I don't. It just takes me 20 minutes to finish 8.4 ounces of Red Bull. Did not tell it. I didn't mention that to the doc in Medical Monday, did I?
No, you did not. Is it okay that I drink a Red Bull every single morning?
To be fair, well, no, I do drink them on the weekends too if we're going somewhere.
Oh, no. I'm just kidding. I really can't talk mess because I am like, that pre-workout is like the same as taking or drinking Red Bull. Maybe worse. Man. And then I have to go do the game and come in clutch because Taylor made us lose yesterday.
Freaking Taylor.
God.
I don't know what makes him think he can get away with that stuff.
He swears.
Dude, I'm kind of liking this roster here. There's...
I was going to say, I think Mikael Hilliard can come back because he didn't throw that many pitches on Friday night. He get 2 days off.
No, so this is not something that we see very often anymore, but we're in that spot where we need it. So.
Yeah. Pitch count was never really a thing until recently anyway.
Yeah, and bear in mind, we were talking to Ronnie Rance.
Yeah,
like, played for
exactly.
Skip Burtman, so if anybody knows about throwing people's arms out.
Yeah. But no, I mean, Mikael only threw, what did he say, 55 pitches? It was like 3 innings, so I'm going to need him to...
I need to know who from LSU's roster is going to be out there. Because I need to go watch Connor Simon play baseball. And he got 0 playing time this year with LSU.
Maybe What's that one freshman's name?
Oh.
Luke Leto.
Oh. You know, we didn't mention that Drew Bianco played for the Rougarou a couple years ago, and he elevated his game, and that was actually him I was envisioning in my head when I said the ball comes off the bat differently. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
That kid plays hard.
Nope. I see no St. Paul's Wolves on the roster. We need Connor Simon. All right. I'm catching hell for it, and deservedly so. 856 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. One segment to go here in Mornings with Brian Haldane. I'm catching hell for it, and deservedly so. I had Ronnie Rance on, and he did no Skip Bertman impression, and I need to be held accountable, and that's true. That's valid. That's legit and valid, and I apologize. It'll never happen again.
Dropped the ball.
I did.
I
dropped the ball.
Majorly.
Yep, that's 100% on me, y'all. I apologize. I had the Rougarou's website up in front of me instead of the YouTube stream open. If I had the YouTube stream open at the time, Mornings with Brian Haldane, subscribe while you're there. If I'd had it open at the time, I could have seen the feedback, and we could have corrected that in real time. It's on me. Got a couple comments I want to touch on, though. Galen says Goldsby Field is very comfortable, and I think that's an important point because I was telling Ronnie during the break, and hopefully he won't hate on me for mentioning this, but my first time to go out to Pete Goldsby Field actually predates the Rougarou. There used to be a team called the Baton Rouge Blue Marlins that eventually turned into the Baton Rouge River Bats. They weren't a collegiate team per se. They were like an independent league, minor league team, and it failed miserably. It survived for a couple of years before somebody dumping money into it decided, you know what, this is a sieve. Going with the intercollegiate team is a way better route. But my first time at the Goldsby Field was for that, and it was amazing. I was so impressed with I was expecting to just sweat buckets while I was out there. And no, did not sweat buckets while I was out there. We've got a busy week in store for you this week, y'all. We got a lot on tap. Session's over with us after today. But we're covering a lot of ground. It's going to take a couple days to unpack the session. We will have state legislators on a regular basis for probably the remainder of June until we get everything done and set the table for the bajillion constitutional amendments that are going to be on your ballot this fall, for everything that's coming next legislative session, the things that maybe fell a little short that didn't make it around. So much to cover in the days to come. We've got a busy week slated for you or laid out for you, starting with number one, Adam Knapp is going to join us tomorrow. We're from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. We are going to recap the session with Adam. That'll be followed immediately by Dr. Cade Brumley, our state superintendent of education. We are looking to find out, we'll talk a little bit about the legislative session with Dr. Brumley, but I'll be darned, we're going to have to talk about school safety. When Dr. Brumley took his job as the state superintendent of education, he was astounded to find out that statewide, we don't have protocols for hurricanes. Well, what about safety? What about school shooters? Will we have protocols here, or will this be a district-by-district basis? Because we know Dr. Brumley likes to refer things back to those who are in charge on a local level, as he should. One of the many conversations we'll be having throughout the week. That's all coming your way tomorrow. Hey, let's pull these Tigers through. I would love to see a Super Regional in Baton Rouge. That's not till later on. Stick around. The Fox News Rundown is next on Talk 107.3. All right. Hey, YouTube, I got to skedaddle. We have our Monday morning meeting, and I'm going to be upstairs selling Foodie Friday. So we'll see you tomorrow.